Working Class Bowhunter Podcast. We're back in the studio. I think it's episode 638.
Maybe.
Could be. There's a big question mark on that. Kurt Geyer speaking.
Eric Hoffman.
Doug Schmidt.
We'll go around the table. We got some handsome guests this week in studio. It's good to see you.
Are we supposed to say our names too?
Yeah.
Warren Holder.
There you go.
David Holder, Raised Hunting.
Thank you guys for being here. We have talked about doing a real podcast for how long?
At least 2 years.
Oh, it's been longer than that. Alyssa and I were talking about
3 or
it,
4 years.
and I went back and looked at our text messages.
Oh, shit. Really?
It was last June when you remember when we were like, we both said we suck?
Yeah.
It was last June.
Okay.
I thought it was like 2 months ago.
No, that's how busy we are.
Yeah.
But then we did a recording with you, Warren, at Iowa in our booth like in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
During the Iowa Deer Classic.
Yep.
I don't even remember what we talked about.
Me either.
Probably nothing.
But then since then, we've talked about doing this type of podcast since that. So here we finally are. What I'm getting to is thank you for being here in the studio. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having us, man.
Sounds like we took a wrong turn or something. We've been looking for this place for 5 years.
Yeah.
Just couldn't find it.
It's both our faults, man. You know, it's we're just busy. You guys are doing a lot, which we got to get into, and we're trying to push the podcast game. So,
Oh, everybody could see your studio. You guys are killing it.
well, you guys are killing it too. You guys got a lot going on.
We've got
So,
a few things going, yeah.
I appreciate it. Eric, you want to grab that stuff off the table for me? Yeah. Just throw it somewhere. It's just bothering me. And it'll bother me when I look at it on camera. Yeah, I do appreciate your guys' reaction to the studio when you walked in because it felt genuine. Because we always go back to Scott Bachman's like, well, it's actually nice. And I just felt like it wasn't a full compliment.
No, dude, it's legit.
I would agree. It just feels right.
Yeah, the amount of,
well, thank you.
and you, no offense, but you guys had some even bigger deer than I was anticipating. Just
Oh,
the amount of,
that's a dig.
well, I know you got big
dig.
deer. I was just like, you guys got a lot of big deer. I mean, you guys got, there's nothing to scoff at in there. You got some tankers. We don't have a 200 in ours. We don't even have.
Well, none of us killed the 200.
Yeah.
It's here, though.
Yeah, but you got one
We
there.
haven't broke
Yeah.
the, we haven't
got
broke the
one.
200 mark yet either.
You got dang close. We'll get into it. We got a lot to unpack here, but Raised Hunting. You guys are here, not the full crew, but the two that matter. Would you say that?
Absolutely.
Just because they're not here?
I'm not going to say anything to that comment.
Okay.
No comment. Just
I got to
say
go
no
home at some point.
Smart play. You guys are killing it. You guys are everywhere, and you guys got a lot of irons in the fire. If our audience is unfamiliar, which I find it very rare that they're not, because you guys are in the podcast game now, you guys are in the hunting comments game, and then some. But at a core, someone was just like, ran into you in the street. What do you do? Oh, what's Raised Hunting? How would you guys each answer it?
Do you want to go first or you want me to?
Go for it.
I would honestly now I'd answer it two different ways. Especially the origin of Raised Hunting was a TV show, and a TV show that really promoted what hunting meant more than just hunting in general, and then teaching life lessons through that. Obviously, David is my dad, and that's what we grew up doing together. Way before it was ever a TV show or anything. He was filming everything. You know, he's got video of me shooting a bow when I was 2 years old. I would shoot the garage wall because my arrows would stick in that instead of the target, and he's got video of all that. Like, it was never an intention to make a TV show.
Right.
And I think honestly we've gotten to a point now where that goal is kind of accomplished, meaning that he'll have to speak about that a little bit more, because he set out to really make a difference and try to promote exactly what I just said, you know, what hunting means to each of us, and try to share that with as many people and show a different side of hunting and a different light of hunting. And then I think that we came to the realization a few years ago that we kind of had already accomplished that, and we accomplished it to the best level that we possibly could have. It's time for us to start moving on and doing other things. You know, it's like once we've accomplished that goal,
What's next?
yeah, starting to evolve. So now I would tell you that we are moving to more of a hunting product company that is focused on trying to deliver the best content we can.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Mine's short answer.
Yeah.
Just go to raisedhunting.com.
Okay. I like that.
Because now you find, because we do have, our hands are in everything.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everything that Warren just said. And yes, we wanted to, what I personally, when we built Raised Hunting, was I wanted someone to feel what hunting felt like. And that's hard to do through TV, but I felt like we accomplished that. I mean, I can't tell you how many people we've had that have answered us and said, I cry after every episode, well, that wasn't necessary. We very rarely get someone that writes in or messages us in some way and says, hey man, awesome deer. That just doesn't happen. What happens is they tell us about the stories that they were engrossed in or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I agree with Warren though. You can only do that for so long.
Sure.
Before you're going to start telling the same story over and over again. And so the brand has grown its own legs, so to speak. So we've reached out into a bunch of different worlds, the podcast world. I mean, we were talking at dinner, it's kind of a cult world almost.
It's different for sure.
For sure. But at the same time, the products are now we're actually physically going with people. We're actually, we gave them a piece of something they're using now. Not only that, we're giving them the knowledge behind what we can offer as well. And so two of those things, if you get that, for me to look back, and I'm older than all you guys, when I started hunting, there wasn't any of this.
Right.
So the learning curve was slow. I mean, in the 80s and in the 90s, when I first started bow hunting, you couldn't, there was no place to learn. You learned from a VHS tape. It cost you $55 to buy one back then.
Really?
Oh yeah, I still have the price tag on some of them. I mean or you would go
crazy.
rent them like Blockbuster and all that. If you remember that they didn't have a hunting section.
Yeah.
It was before that.
Right.
So where do you get your knowledge?
Books?
Books. Or you'd go to an archery shop and hope that wherever you lived that the guy at the archery shop knew what he was talking about. Now the problem now it gets somewhat diluted and everyone's an expert.
Yeah.
But if you can pick through there, and hopefully that's what we are trying to do, is say, hey, look, man, we've lived and hunted in a lot of these places, and I think we have some information, and take it or leave it, either way. It's just our opinion, but at the same time, we hope we're giving a good one.
Yeah.
For sure. I think, well, what I respect, and I know all of us, I say Eric and Doug and everybody that's involved in WCB, like we're a podcast and only a podcast. Like we film them for clips,
Right.
I don't expect people to go to YouTube and watch. That's part of the reason why I like the guest to a point. We do a round table. So if someone's driving, like, oh, that's Warren's voice, that's David's voice, because that's where our big audience is. But what I respect from you guys doing your podcast, I feel like you guys it's not an afterthought, or to me, it doesn't seem like an afterthought. Most podcasts are just started because everybody else has one and we just need one to have one. That's how I feel most hunting podcasts are nowadays.
As far as the doing a podcast,
Yeah,
in
just
general?
doing it
Yeah.
in general. Like it's almost like X brand is a company or for whatever, and they just need to have a podcast to just have one because everybody else has one.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you guys put more emphasis on the conversations
Absolutely.
within your podcast, where a lot of them are just kind of like, it doesn't really seem like they want to do it.
Right.
Right.
I'm trying to be nice here.
It's not authentic.
Yeah,
Some of
and
them.
I feel like you guys do a good job with the podcast being, a supplement, because you guys are started as video guys. It's a good supplement to what you do, but you guys put the effort into it to make the conversations engaging.
Well, it was pretty easy because where that came from is Dad had made this perfect line where race hunting never upset anybody, like we just got along with absolutely everybody, which was great. But at the same time, we were seeing some of the stuff that we didn't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
And then it was finally to the point where like we were having a discussion, like, should we share some of our opinions on this? Like the fixed blade train got huge, a few years ago. And not that we have any issues with fixed blades, but it was kind of like becoming anti-mechanical. And we were like, well, we have on video and we've shot, I think we looked, it was like 150 or 200 big game animals, deer and elk, all with mechanicals. We're like, we've had pretty good luck. Like really the only ones that we've lost were ones that we hit where we weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
And so we have a little bit different viewpoint on the mechanicals. And so then it was like, okay, well, we kind of feel as though we owe it to the outdoor community to share our experiences.
Yeah.
But then we were also like, okay, we were probably going to piss people off too. And we were like, we've gotten to a point now where you can't always toe the line of just making everybody happy. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's where it came from. As far as we're like, well, and we aren't pros like you guys, so we had no idea how to do a podcast. But we were just like, let's just start talking about some of the stuff of literally just sharing our experiences. It wasn't about trying to get the podcast to go or to make sure we could get views or try to monetize it. It was literally just like, hey, if people are going to talk about mechanicals and fixed blades and stuff, let's just share. We've had a lot of experience, and let's just share that. So that's where it came from.
Yeah, I think podcasts in general, because when you get into your opinions, some people are just going to be flat out pissed, no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah.
You know, so. But
You could do a giveaway with a freaking literal gold bar on Facebook or something, and people would bitch about it.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
You guys
But that's
are
what I
just
like
doing
about
this to-
podcasting, because you can we can get into some of the stuff, but I do love it. I love the debate side of podcasting in a way, because it's always conversational. You're not yelling at each other. It's not like a social media debate interaction where
Yes.
everyone's just mad instantly. You know, it's like, I mean, we could get into it, but I noticed, David, that you had a couple clips go hot on the socials, and when I saw them, I'm like, hell yeah, because I love that stuff, and I also agreed with them.
Well, I mean, it's
Your
one of those
takes.
things that, like Warren said, I mean, I've been bow hunting now for over 35 years, almost 40 years. Warren was right in that I should have an opinion, because I did have an opinion. We just didn't put it into the shows.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we just, and I mean, number one, I would have almost been forcing it in. And
It
I
would have
didn't-
been weird, right?
Yeah, it would have been different.
Just a cut to you saying that.
Yeah, so we just decided that this was a way, and it's not that that I feel like anyone needs to listen to my opinion or I'm trying to convert people. No, but maybe someone's not looking at the fact that I can't tell you how many people I think when it comes to the fixed blade deal that Warren's referring to, how many people were like, you can't hunt an elk with a expandable broadhead.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I've killed like 20 elk with an expandable broadhead. The only animals that I've ever lost are animals that I made bad shots on. I've never had a mechanical or a fixed blade that didn't work properly. If I didn't put it where it needed to be, that was the problem. It's user error.
Yeah.
Now I can't talk to the guy that has not, that's had a blade not open, or had one open in flight or something like that. Obviously, yeah, you got a problem there. But I find that hard to believe. Are you checking your equipment, and are you doing everything on your end to make sure that it's working properly? Because I've been doing this now for 40 years, and I've never had that issue.
Yeah.
So can I pass on, hey, to make sure, because I can tell you, like on the fixed blade debate, it started with me when Warren was 12 years old and Karen was shooting, and I had 3 people I was trying to set our bows up for, and trying to switch to broadheads. That flew well, because at the time I shot fixed blade broadheads. And the moment that theirs weren't flying right, and I was explaining to them, okay, we're going to have to slightly adjust this. What are you talking about? I've ruined their confidence.
Oh.
And so that's when I first looked at expandable broadheads and said, if we could they've been shooting field points all summer, if I could turn around and take that and allow them to just quickly make the change to a blade that was going to work, this could be the difference maker.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be. And it turned out to be something that I switched to myself. If a guy has the time, fixed blade broadhead's a guarantee. It is, but you got to have the time to make sure that it's tuned well and it's shooting properly.
Yeah. I love that, because you admit, the only deer I've ever lost are ones I didn't hit good.
Yeah.
So I think in your point, I love that, it's confident and it's tried and true from your hunting experience, which is how you going to argue with what you experienced? You know what I mean? We all know when guys are bullshitting, or a lot of guys will say oh, I smoked it and never found it.
Yeah.
You didn't smoke it.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's just, you hear that every year though, and I get it. You felt like you did.
Yeah.
But something happened.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the guys that, that they had a mechanical failure, they've had 10 of them. And it's okay, I can buy one, where you had a blade that popped open or something happened, but when you've had it 6 times, I've had 6 rages fail on me. Okay, well, are you even making sure the blades are closed?
Are you reusing them, or what are you doing?
I mean, I've had one come open on me, but I hit a limb on the way to the deer.
Right?
Which opened it. It did what it was supposed to do.
It did.
Yeah, it opened, yeah.
It opened.
I had one mechanical or one broadhead instance that I think, or I'm pretty sure it was due to the broadhead, and it was only one ever, which was a rage hypodermic. I'd hit a deer literally, what you think is perfect, right in the pocket, right by that knuckle, and blood everywhere. Dad and I go and start following him. We go like 100 yards, and then I'm on blood. And so then he yells at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm following the blood." And he said, "Well, I'm following blood." And so now we're 100 yards apart, and we're both on blood. And it's 300 yards now on this deer that I'm pretty sure that I smoked. And so I was like, "Well, that's not good." And so then mine ran out though, and so obviously the deer doubled back, and he was still on it. We kept following that deer, kept following him. Sure enough, we finally got to this point. He's like, I really think we need to back out." And I was like, "Yeah, but I crushed that deer." And yeah, I sound just like one of those guys, I smoked.
But we had video to back up. We were looking, we went back and looked at the video, and arrow goes in exactly where Warren's describing. He should have been a dead deer, but he wasn't at a certain distance, so back out.
Yeah, yeah.
And, fortunately, we found the deer the next day. But it wasn't until the next one that you shot that we went, okay, there's an issue with their broadhead.
Yeah, well, the arrow would come out right in front of his back hip. And he was perfectly broadside, if anything, slightly quartered away. And, that arrow, literally came back straight guts. And, to me, to not hit one lung, like that thing had to have dang near made a 90.
Yeah.
That was wild. But
Deflected like crazy.
Yeah, because you'd think that it immediately, once it got into his body cavity, that to make that turn still, it would have had to hit a lung. Yeah. Which maybe it did, and he just lived that long. But, he lived
nicked the back end of it or something and just was able to.
Yeah. I don't know. He was alive for at least 18 hours, I think, because we bumped him one other time, right?
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of that, let's just get into it. I had a whole thing, and I think we're just going to freestyle this. I had a whole mental structure of this episode. And you know what? We'll get to it. But I got some things I want to get into now. It's fun. Speaking of the 18-hour thing, what do you think of the drone craze that's hitting the scene right now?
We discussed this one
because we talked about this on our
I know
podcast.
You talked about it.
Which I'll be really curious to hear your guys' take, because you guys have had the drone guy on.
Yeah, yep. We've had drone guys and dog guys in like back-to-back weeks. So
yeah. Their podcast is the one I referenced on ours, talking about it was one
drone deer recovery.
But one of your guys had a deer that the drone couldn't find that the dog did.
Eric's buck.
His buck. Remember I said that was in the creek. It was his deer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. My personal opinion on it is I think that it's a cool tool, but I don't see how that's not going to get way abused.
100%. It will. 100%.
Yeah. And I think that it's just opening the door to not good things. Which I know then you're going to get the argument of, well, you could say the same thing about guns, and you could say the same thing about this. I'm like, well, if we ever have every John Doe just running around flying drones all over the place, where does that lead to?
Yeah.
I think that there's got to be some parameters on it. And then now too, it's already outside of, it's not about just tracking deer anymore. Yeah. Let's do a scouting report for you, and let's do this.
Like deer numbers, like herd report. And
yeah.
I'm back and forth with it personally. Like I see the ethical side, and it totes the line of the ethical side of like doing what you can to recover a wounded animal.
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
Which is hard to argue. To some point, because I agree. If anything you can do to find an animal.
And that's where I'm at on it. Like in my situation, I don't care if I found it with a truck, a drone, a dog. I just wanted to find my deer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If
you'd already done the work of shooting the animal.
Yes, and I did my tracking as much as I could by myself and everything else. So I called in as many things possible as I could to find that deer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it's fair too to be able to say that there's not all that many people with using their dogs that know what they do. They know what they are doing to the extent that your guys' tracker was. So you can have a whole bunch of people that have somebody coming in to track their deer.
Let me ask you guys this on the drone thing, because I think we all do agree potential for abuse is crazy big.
The idea for finding your deer is great, but like you said, other than that,
how would you guys
could you do with it?
Would it change your mind if there was like a purchase permit licensing program for it, and then it was implemented from there, and you knew it's still a large area for abuse, but does that make it different for you guys if there was
I think anytime that you start to gain some control, like for instance when Iowa legalized dogs, they made it where they got to be on a lead. you know, and now they talked about they were going to try to put something in place where you actually had to go through a certification process, and they couldn't do that just logistically. The state couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So I think when you talk about doing something like that with a drone, obviously, I believe that there should be everything exhausted to, you've killed an animal, you're just trying to recover them. But I agree, you go down this route, it's no different than trail cameras to cell cameras. And then when do we get too far with cell cameras?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was just talking with someone the other day because I didn't have one, but I remember the first trail camera didn't take a picture at all.
Is it a timer?
It was a timer.
Yeah.
Tripped a timer and told you didn't even know what it was. You just knew something went by at this
someone's
time.
here.
A stick could have fell on it.
Right.
The raccoon every day.
You're all
Yeah.
excited.
Yes.
Something was here.
So, you know, and now we're
That's big
flying
buck.
something up and over, you know, the timber, the rivers and whatever it may take.
Yeah.
So maybe it's old school, but I think I do think we are close to going too far with technology.
I would.
But do you think people said that back in the day, like when
the trail timer came out?
the trail timer, the
Yeah.
trail camera, now your cell cams, like
The timer.
the evolution of everything is kind of
I think.
going on that path too.
Well, one, I guess. Do you guys have any idea what is the average cost of a thermal drone like that?
I always,
it's-
for some reason, I always hear that 20,000 and plus
20,000.
mark.
Yeah, so I think like for now, you're probably okay, you know, because there's not
But-
a lot of dudes that
But
would.
For
if you
film,
look at,
we bought a $300 drone at Costco.
but if you look at any
Yeah.
technology, like these TVs when they come out, that was a $10,000 TV.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is eventually
you-
it's probably going to be a
$1,200
$1,500 drone.
Yeah.
You know, that's thermal
Or
whatever.
less than that, right?
Yeah,
Where-
maybe.
That's where I see it's going to start getting abused. Now, I agree with is what you just said is exactly what I was thinking. If you had some kind of permit system where you knew that only a certain amount of people, where you could at least have some checks and balances, you know, so that your local poacher, everybody would know at least
Yeah.
that. Oh man,
there's Fred's
Tom,
drone,
yeah,
watch out.
like that one. you better go run your deer, you know,
Yeah.
because he's probably going to smoke one here in a minute.
All right, David, let's ask you this. So you said you think we're close to being like too far. Had anything, just because you've been bow hunting the longest, has anything gave you, before the drone stuff, has any technology gave you that feeling? Like did cell cams give you that same feeling?
Cell cams, do.
Yeah.
Probably more so than the drone.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think there's as much access to the drone as there is the cell cams. And
Was there anything before that though? Like
maybe some of the sites when Garmin came out with the, you know,
That's recent-ish.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
or
when
mapping stuff.
No,
I
the
don't-
site that self ranges and on that full
Oh,
draw
okay,
for
yeah,
it.
Right. No, I mean, when mapping stuff, I think is just nothing but good technology to help you live. I mean, you're going to save your life possibly. So
Yeah.
I'm all in favor of that kind of thing. It was kind of crazy when we lived in Montana. Lighted knocks were still not legal.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, again, I'm looking at stuff that is going to help us recover an animal
Yeah.
or be more ethical about what we're doing. I hunt with a compound bow, which we get into a whole nother one when we get to crossbows and traditional equipment. I've never shied away from the fact that I tried traditional and I couldn't do it. I mean, I just flat couldn't hit any. At 15 yards, I was deadly. I mean, I could hit everything every time. But I wanted to be able to hunt 20 yards to feel like I would even have a good chance of harvesting animals or getting shots. And I couldn't do it. So would someone say that I jumped that evolution, as we just mentioned, way quick because I went to a compound bow? But I've always kept the distance like I'm shooting a traditional. I don't hunt
Responsible hunting
I don't-
distance,
I didn't get into bow hunting to see how far away I could shoot something. I got into bow hunting to see how close I could get to them, hear them, feel them, see them.
100%.
And so when we start talking about cellular cameras, you know, and then they can help you know when a deer enters or leaves or whatever, I think we're scratching an area that it kind of makes me. I'm not mad at anyone else for doing it. I personally wouldn't do it because I like that chess game.
Yeah.
I like knowing the deer are there. That's what I love. Warren can tell you I'm fanatical about trail cameras. You know, I love. It's almost like another hunt.
Yeah.
You know, and I love the video portion of trail cameras, and so the
If he used all cell cams, he'd have no idea what to do with himself.
Right.
because his happiness relies on checking those trail cameras.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that.
But it's fun to go see what's going on, know that they're there. Now it's up to me to figure out what's going on without the use of any electronics to tell me what am I, so I know, okay, go hunt here.
Yeah.
You know, and I still have to go through that. I'm still hunting. I'm still working my butt off.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not knocking the guy that says, hey, I just saw a buck go by and now there's a good chance, or a turkey go by. More power to him, man.
Right.
If that's still pushing that guy to be an ethical hunter, I'm all for him.
Definitely.
I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, I respect that. I love that. The trail cam thing for me, I don't know where you guys lie. I enjoy cameras in general.
Yeah.
And I just remember like when cell cams first came out, or at least came into
Yeah,
my
I
world.
always
Like,
thought I could never afford one.
yeah, I was like,
couldn't
damn, I
afford
want
one.
one of them.
Yeah.
But that goes back to that drone thing.
Yep.
It's like, well, we can't afford one right now.
Yeah, they were what, $400 or $500 at first.
Yeah.
when they
Yeah,
first came
well,
out?
yeah, maybe more. Well, hell,
Reconics.
there's the wildlife eye right there from the remember the Mad wildlife eye.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez,
Like,
that was huge.
Yeah, it's a big old clunker.
Looks pretty good still, doesn't it?
It looks pretty sweet. Mark gave that to me, and
How many
I
ratchet straps you need to get that on a tree?
you got to build a 2x4
5.
platform.
It's taking
No
pictures of you
joke.
right now.
Yeah, that baby's on right now.
We got it hooked up.
There's a high 8 tape handy cam in
Yeah.
that baby, but it's
18 double D batteries.
you know that's well. There's the I don't know how much that was when it first came out. I remember my dad made pretty good money when they came out, and we didn't have one.
That's nuts.
It's got its own handle on it.
Yeah, that's
But I get it.
so.
but
So where do you guys stand on the cell cam part then?
I like them, but I can see. Whereas if you had the money, you could just basically pigeonhole a buck and get in there and get them.
That's the only thing I have a hard time understanding. Is I hear a lot of people that make the argument that that cell cams don't give you an advantage to killing a deer. You know,
They
you
for sure
still
give
have
you
to
a real
be.
time knowledge.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. Like if you're opposed to you having to go out there and check that card and be fortunate enough to know, check that card. Oh man, he was here last night, or he was here this morning, and now I'm going to be able to go and go get in a stand where I think he's going. You've got to take into consideration when you're getting real time data. That is absolutely catering to your ability to kill that deer.
Well, for sure. And I think, too, a place where I like cell cams, because it's very rare that I get a picture of a deer and run right out there and can shoot it. That's never happened. And I'm sure it does happen, right? It does. And but what I like about it is, even if it's a spot I'm not hunting 5 cameras up, like real time, I know what the weather's doing. I feel like I take deeper note to it, being like, oh, the deer's moving right now. Like, whereas like when I go back and check I call it my stagnant camera, and I'm like, oh yeah, on the 18th that buck moved through there, and then I don't ever like look at the weather on the 18th. Whereas like my brain, I think about, oh, that buck's moving today, and it's a north wind or
It's 20
whatever.
degrees and then the wind's blowing this direction.
Yeah.
I
feel like that data of it logs, and it hits me more like, oh, okay, rather than like going back and not.
Well, I mean, I kind of piggyback off that a little bit. Like them smaller pieces like I got, they've helped me a shit ton because I'm not going in there and checking the camera. It's like it's there. Once I set it, it's there and it's good. I don't have to go in there and be pulling cards and intruding that area.
My favorite thing is just to transfer them over to your phone, the photos. It's just on your phone.
Yeah, that's
Remember
nice.
going from a computer, then you have to do it to your phone.
Oh yeah, you pull an SD card,
Yeah,
then you gotta
pull an
run
SD card,
home.
yeah.
You're like, oh, I wonder what's on here.
That I will say that was probably the most
I
notable
resemble
thing.
that.
You have an SD card in your pocket.
Let's see what's on them. What's on them?
You haven't even checked them yet.
Those are the
Oh
ones
yeah,
to
you
check.
checked them before we came.
I keep 2 cards in every pair of pants. So
They
that
are
any-
waterproof, so if you're on
They
the-
are. I've had many go through the washing machine.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Dude, remember the old before the modern SD card, the old Cuddybacks had them big honkers.
compact flash.
Is that what they were?
Yeah, the big square, big
Yeah.
like rectangle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, compact flash.
That's what it was. Yeah. That was just after floppy disks.
yeah.
Didn't they only hold like 500 megabytes?
Yeah, they're small as
Isn't that
hell.
crazy?
I still have
6
some.
photos.
Well, I might have one right here.
It's all in branch.
And D cell batteries.
Yeah, D cell
Yeah,
batteries.
D batteries, man, and they didn't
D's or
last very
C's?
long.
No, they did not.
Do you guys still use like white flash cameras at all?
No,
Do you think they spook deer? They have to.
I don't know.
I haven't really don't have much experience with them, so I honestly couldn't tell you.
We had an
This is
old
my
camera
take
that-
on the white
I just
flash.
like the pictures it took.
Like if you walk
so
through the
good.
timber and a white flash at you, you'd be like,
It scared the shit out of you.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, I would
With
think
infrared, you don't ever even notice it.
What about the cell cam myth? You guys hear that all the time? People say big box won't.
I think that's real, dude.
Really?
That they're picking up signal.
I do.
I've had one cell camera where in the video you can kind of hear a buzzing noise. I don't know if the deer can hear it or not, but he's like,
So
I
what,
think it's real
what
to a
convinced
point.
you of that though?
All right. I don't know if you guys noticed this. I noticed it because I have my headset cranked. And maybe this is bullshit, but it's a theory. Okay.
Okay. And then
This
you're
is-
going to have to lay this
We're
out
listening.
of what makes it
we're
different
listening.
from a stagnant camera, as you call it, or whatever.
So earlier, when someone's, I don't know if you guys have this with your podcast equipment. We've had it with all the equipment we've ever used. I believe it's called GSM noise. Basically, it's your phone trying to pick up signal, and this is my understanding of it, trying to pick up signal through the wires that are around it. So
using the wires as an antenna.
So you hear like a,
So radio waves.
Yep, basically, you'll hear it click, like if you're, I used to, or if you're by computer speakers, you're gonna get a call.
No, it doesn't work.
You could be like, I'm gonna get a call, and you hear that click, 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 boom, then your phone rings. Have you ever
Usually
noticed
when
that?
a text is coming through a call.
Gotcha. I'll send Doug a text. We'll see if we can hear it.
Now I'm probably going to start noticing that every time we
I
do
know.
it.
I run my
You'll hear
headset hot. Here, I'll text Eric here.
Yeah.
Or maybe I do hear it. I just not registering what I'm listening for.
So it won't do it now.
It won't.
But normally, if like we're trying to like, let me load a video.
Of course, it won't do it when you want it to do it.
I notice it whenever we're not meaning to in the beginning of the podcast. Someone's got their phone right there. I'll hear shh, tick, 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 tick. And I wonder if there's some relation to a cell cam that they can just hear it better or feel it or sense it. Because if I can hear it, I mean, maybe a cell cam doesn't even do that. But
Well,
that's
that's
Oh,
There it
you
is.
go. Yeah.
Here. I'm sending. I just sent
How'd you
Doug
get
a
it to
text.
do that?
I sent Doug a text.
That's it. I think that
Now
maybe,
put your phone down.
And so you think it's doing that? It's doing that constantly,
maybe.
or every
always
time
got-
it's
Or when it's
sending
when it's
sending
transmitting,
a photo.
maybe.
Whenever it's trying to find a signal.
Yeah.
So it's using the deer's antlers as an antenna.
So that's, I've always kind
They
of
feel
thought
it in
that,
their
Whoa.
brain.
What the hell?
maybe they can feel something. You know, we talk. I mean, look, we're doing hot takes with raised hunting.
Yeah,
Okay, there's some clothing out there that claims to be like magic cloak.
yeah.
You know, why couldn't a camera put off an electric?
Right.
That's a Bigfoot, so they can sense it. So that's why nobody has
Hey,
pictures of
Warren,
Sasquatch.
don't tell him, but we're going to come out with something to cover a camera.
Yeah, he just took our idea.
The cloak, the camera cloak.
The camera.
Oh no!
Well, if you think about it, if you're saying it is, I would think to me, I would think that it'd be more likely that they feel it. If it's true,
Yeah.
If the cell cams do something that's different from your regular camera, I would think it's more that they're feeling some kind of radio waves.
Fun
or,
fact.
Well-
That's why Bigfoot's never been caught on camera.
I already said that. Nobody heard it.
You did?
he just said it.
Yeah.
No.
No
Yeah.
friggin' way.
You guys don't even listen to me.
Did he?
I heard
Did you
it.
hear him say it?
I
No,
heard
I
it.
did hear him say that.
But also,
Why don't you share your fun
You don't even
fact
care,
about,
Doug.
about dog fights for us all later? I'm sure everybody would enjoy that one.
I say try fighting me right now.
Okay.
Another theory too is like when it's taking a photo, it's just infrared flash.
Yeah.
But when it's taking a video, that infrared's on all the time.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Do you think
but-
there's ever bucks that avoid regular cameras?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure. Because you
100%.
see it. You see
Yeah.
the strap. That's what I think. But I don't think all deer give a shit about cell cams. And I don't even know if I had to throw
Oh,
a
yeah.
percentage on it, you know. But you can't. My theory holds a little water.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think
maybe this
it,
much.
Well, there's something there.
That's
for sure.
water. That is holy water.
It's holding water.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, we proved that. I don't know if a cell cam does that, but maybe.
Hey, I don't think we'll ever know.
I don't want to know because it's more fun speculating. You know,
Hey,
Yeah.
why'd the coyote steal my trail camera?
that's a funny story.
Yeah, what was with that camera? What was up with that?
I have no idea.
have you
Eric ate Cheetos and hung the camera up, and the thing.
was eating
That's
Big
exactly
Mac.
what happened.
have you run any cell cams right next to a regular camera?
I've never done that.
Didn't we do that one time?
I thought so.
We've had a few places where it doesn't seem like especially like when we'll put in like a rubbing post or something where there's something that preoccupies them a little bit. It seems like they don't care at all. You know, where there's other ones where I've put cameras in places that are a little bit closer to a bedding area that I think they might feel a little more intruded on, where I feel as though they may consider avoiding the cameras. But for the most part,
Where
At
you,
least all
the
the-
rub tree where you killed BG.
Yeah.
You had a cell cam right next to my
Yeah, and they didn't care
Right.
at all about that one.
Yeah.
But we also say that some deer are stupid. You know, there's some
believe
deer
that.
that are really smart, but I think
Well, look at me. I'm really smart. Doug's really dumb. So I mean,
perfect example.
It's a great point.
great point.
It's exactly what we were referencing.
Catch me on camera.
You know?
Everyone's different, you know.
Catch me on camera.
If you want, Doug, you can do the dog trick on him.
I'll do it later.
We'll get to that in the credits of this episode.
The credits.
Doug's tips for avoiding a dog
Stopping
attack.
dog
Is that what it was?
Might save your life someday.
Yeah, as long as you don't start demonstrating it, we're good.
Yeah. All right. We'll get to that. All right. While we're just on topics right now, we're just checking off all the big ones. Did you get in trouble from the family about your unapologetic hate for crossbows?
I was encouraged.
Because I was encouraged.
Yeah, I don't know. It just is what it is.
What
know?
happened?
I'm good,
You got to
thanks,
break
buddy.
down what happened because you kind of went viral. I felt like on the socials in the hunting world because
yeah.
we talked about it a little bit.
Oh, it
off
went nuts. Yeah.
And you didn't really realize it.
No, I
right?
didn't. Because I don't check everything like they do a daily, and so I wasn't noticing what was going on. People in Hy-Vee weren't like looking at me funny or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. Although it kept coming up, I kept noticing that the conversation at work, they were talking crossbows. I was like, "Are we still on that?" Oh yeah, you have no idea.
Where you been?
So for the people who didn't see the clip, most people in the podcast world saw it. What happened?
So basically, I mean, I don't mind doing it here. I mean, so I'm 55 years old. I got a shoulder that is it should be replaced right now. That's what they're telling me they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the option that I look at is I could be shooting a crossbow right now with a doctor's note. That's what's legal in Iowa.
Yeah.
I could legally go do that. And I choose not to do that because I don't feel like a crossbow should be used during regular archery season. It has a trigger. It has a scope on it. It has more things that look like a gun or move like a gun than a bow does, and I just don't feel like they belong there.
Yeah,
And
I'd agree.
So I went out and I made the comment, unapologetically, that they don't belong there. Other than now, and I have to say that because I'm getting closer to that age. There'll be a time when I can't. Now, I just mentioned to you guys
Yeah,
the
you
guy
just told a
that's
story,
85 years old. He's shooting 42 pounds, out of a compound bow, and he's still hunting.
Yeah.
If I can do that, that's what I'll do before I'll go to a crossbow. But I'm not against crossbows being used by handicapped people. I'm not against crossbows being used by people that cannot. I want everyone to participate because I know how awesome bow hunting is. Mm-hmm. And so I'm all for that. But I am not for the guy that is more than capable of going out and shooting a compound bow or traditional archery that just chooses to be lazy and say, I want to use a crossbow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I made that statement,
It's fair.
it was like I was challenging the world, and
He didn't even know when he pulled the Joe Rogan method, where Joe Rogan's always like, you just don't look at the comments.
Yeah, you
Don't
just
look
don't
at the
look.
comments.
Just
So
don't
Dad's
look.
just hunky dory and
He just makes a
online
video
people
and
are
walks
losing their
away.
minds.
Just out there checking cameras.
Yeah.
Some people are just hating to hate pretty
Oh, yeah.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're not against crossbows.
No,
we
like
are
I just-
against them during archery season.
I feel like we're the same way,
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel as though that one's super hard to argue. The other thing to me, is when you can crank something and then you're not having to hold any weight, which I get it. All the guys say, well, why don't you go shoot traditional?
Well, there's let off it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's different. Quit throwing that at us because it's different.
Right.
Go
Right.
find me one dude that can hold a compound for 4 minutes, right? You can sit there on target with a crossbow any amount of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no physical involvement there once you crank the string back
Well,
and you
read the
have it ready to
definition
rock.
of a bow and arrow from Pope and Young. That's right there. Just
Right.
it hammers it down.
Yeah.
I mean, people are always going to disagree, and there's people that are going to talk shit about this exchange right now. But you know what? Suck it, because I agree with you, man. And the conversation gets to be down. All right, let me ask you this: what about for kids? Because we talk about is that start off a kid wrong? Does it teach them? It's getting them into hunting, but is it enabling them off the rip?
I'm going to tell you I have mixed emotions on it, and that's
Yeah.
because I have two boys that I raised, and I didn't start them with crossbows. It wasn't legal to do that. I don't think I would have in the first place because I see this and everyone knows, I mean, Raised at Full Draw is something that I came up with, and me and a few other people, and we've now reached thousands and thousands of
Which is a youth camp for
youth
people that don't
camp
know.
for kids. And so when I say this, I don't want someone to take it out of context, but I see some kids that start too early hunting. They don't even know what they're doing. I see sometimes that people got kids out here that are 4 and 5 years old shooting a deer. My kids went, and I wanted them to be there, but I can tell you, like, I would not have allowed them to hunt, to actually take an animal's life until I felt like they could understand what they were doing.
Till they were ready.
Not just pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
I wanted them to truly be able to understand what they were doing. You're taking an animal's life.
So that wasn't an age for them. That was when you said, okay, you are ready to take an animal's life.
It wasn't an ego thing for you to see, oh, my 4-year-old killed one. I get that. I respect that a ton.
I respect the hell out of that.
Because
Which
we
was
all have
still pretty
kids.
young though too.
What's
I
that?
mean, I was 10, I think.
10 when you killed your first turkey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the flip side of that is, so then when my kids turn 10 years old, we live in Montana, they're not allowed legally to hunt till they're 12.
Oh.
So I go to the state and I'm like, okay, we need to change this, because by the time you get to 12 years old, these kids already have ballet and soccer and football.
Band and whatever
They found
else,
all
yeah.
these other things, and now social media and all these, where I could
That's
have
a good
gotten,
point.
I could have gotten them involved at a much early. Can you guys start like an arm's reach rule or something that says that, okay, this kid is, go through hunter's ed, because both Warren and Easton could have passed the hunter's ed test or whatever you want to call that, both the physical part and the written part, at 7 or 8 years old, probably.
Right.
So again, I don't think it's an age. I think it's how you raise your children.
For sure.
Sure.
And what you have them doing. So so what they told me was, sorry, we can't do anything for you. So I take my kids out of state to be able to hunt their first animal. I had to get them to allow them to even take hunter's ed, though.
Oh, for out of state.
To be able to go out of state.
I get where yeah.
Yeah, they would not let them even take hunter's ed until they were 11. In our
So
case,
in Montana, like, you couldn't even be with him and hunt?
no. He could come with me, but he could not carry a weapon
See,
of any sort.
I got my hunting license when I was 10. I was a resident of Illinois, but got it in Iowa. I got it at West, your high school.
Oh, really?
That's where I took it.
The
But
hunter's ed.
I couldn't, and passed and whatever, but I don't remember there being like a youth season until I was no longer a youth, and I was like looking at my dad. I'm like, yo, motherfucker, where was that whole youth season? Right. But I don't know if they even had it. But
They had to have.
They had it when we were, I mean,
In Iowa,
I don't
for
know about
sure.
deer, but like they had youth season for ducks because I grew up duck hunting. And
For
my dad's
sure,
like,
youth
I ain't
season for
going
deer
out
'cause
for
I did
that.
it.
I'm
yeah,
like, oh,
but
okay.
I do love your answer is perfect from my perspective, because
Yes,
we all have
100%.
young kids, and we've talked. This has been a reoccurring topic of conversation, and I'm glad I brought it up because you have multiple angles of experience here, and I think your way of thought on it is probably what I'm going to. I feel that's what I thought, but I'll be honest. I do kind of have the urge going back on the crossbow thing, like, shit, we get a crossbow, and my daughter Isla May will be 5 in May. We'd go out and shoot a buck in October when she's 5 out of the box blind.
Right.
But she don't know what the hell she's doing.
Is she going to have an idea what she's just done?
I don't think so.
And so that was my whole thing is, and again, I we're here and we're talking about opinions, and everyone's sort of like assholes. Everyone's got one.
Yeah.
And so my point was, I wanted him to understand, everything about it, that he was taking an animal's life and that he needed to make a good shot. Because if he doesn't, then what do we have? Then it's all on dad or all on mom or whoever, grandpa, whoever's taking that person.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be able to understand what they're facing here and what's going on, because hunting to me is not, it's not a sport. It's way more than that. It's way deeper than that. We just did a podcast talking about why we hunt. And hunting has been my life. I mean, I've lived for it. I've lost jobs, given up jobs. I've quit. I've moved across the country. I've done all kinds of things, all based around hunting. I had my kids based around hunting. I want to make sure we don't have one where we got to celebrate a birthday in November. That would be horrible. You don't get married in November.
No.
I mean, just certain things you don't do.
Yeah.
And so
just certain things you don't do.
Yeah.
It's just, that's right.
That's a
Unwritten-
t-shirt idea. Just a list of
The unwritten
don't have
rules.
kids in November. Don't get married in November.
right?
Dude,
Things you don't do.
that's what I did.
Yeah. And so, but
It's so
June
it's
1, that's my wedding date.
June
June 1.
See, he missed.
June 24th is when mine is.
Yeah.
I forgot it. Yeah.
So going back to the crossbow thing, again, I'm not against someone doing it. I would tell someone, if you're getting your child involved and getting them out there in the field, and that's what's going to hook them, and so that they're going to be the next generation, I'm all for it.
And that's kind of where I'm at, because like my kids too, like he's out there doing food plots with me, like putting out feed, doing that kind of, like I'm kind of introducing him to him. But if he doesn't want to hunt, that's his decision when it comes to be that day, like I'm not going to force him like, you got to go out and kill a deer.
Yeah, you can't.
I was never that. My dad never did that on me. He was like, do you want to go hunting? I'm like, hell yeah.
You would do the opposite if that's what he tried to get you to do.
Right,
like,
100%.
If it was forced, you'd be like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Well, that's one thing that's kind of interesting about the crossbow thing is I think back to when I was a kid, I had zero interest in using a gun or anything else, surely because Dad, was teaching us to shoot a bow and everything. I don't know that you could have convinced me. I know you could. You could not have convinced me to use a crossbow.
No, well, in Easton's,
because you had a hard enough time getting me to shoot that first turkey with a shotgun.
With a shotgun.
Yeah,
because we went over to another state, Idaho, I think it was, and so I'm trying to tell Warren, you got to use a shotgun. I don't have capability of getting you a bow tag here, and he's like, what? I'm like, if you want to hunt, and he was ready. I was like, if you want to be the shooter, you got to use a shotgun. Okay, but Easton got an opportunity here. It's been 10 years ago now, maybe not that long, maybe 7 or 8. Where an outfitter in New Mexico called me and said, hey, we have a youth season here and we can get a tag for Easton. All he needs to do is show up. And I was like, heck yeah, this kid's going to kill his first bull elk, and I know what youth season there is after bow season. Mm-hmm. So really? So it's October, like the first week of October, like these elk are going nuts.
Yeah.
You're killing and I know this ranch, and I'm like, we're killing a 380 bull kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty jacked. Well, then they tell me, but it's rifle only.
Oh.
And so I tell Easton, and he was, no thanks.
No kidding.
Really? No thanks. So that's awesome. We don't have a 380 bull at our house. Oh my God. He refused, but again, that more came across when I had my kids in my life, because I started off gun hunting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how I did too.
Yeah, I started off hunting with a shotgun. I lived in Virginia, and so I killed a lot of deer with buckshot. A lot of people have never even attempted to do that.
Yeah.
But that's how you hunt. Certain parts of the state was buckshot only.
How long did you live in Virginia? Till how old were you?
I was 22.
You've been all over. So you went from Virginia to Montana?
No. I lived in Arkansas first. I became a firefighter in Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Lived there for 4 years. Then moved from Arkansas to Montana. And then from Montana to farther northwest of Montana where the grizzly bears existed.
Yeah, good.
And then traded that for Iowa. And love Iowa.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is awesome.
So I think that's part of, again, the podcast, part of the television show. I do feel like I can relate to a lot of people, especially a lot of the listeners that come from the East and the South. I know what it's like to hunt the swamps.
Yeah.
I did it. I know what it's like when someone says, go out to that ridge, and the only reason that there's a ridge is because the high water mark is on the trees.
Right.
Everything is just perfectly flat, and you got to figure out where you're going and how you get there. Yet I know what it's like to live and hunt public land in Virginia, or that would be no different than New York and West Virginia and Kentucky, areas like that.
Yeah.
You've seen it all.
I feel like I've seen a lot. I don't know about all, but I've seen a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you've for sure seen the main lower 48 terrains, and cultural hunting differences is a
Absolutely.
big thing, Like we went to it was Jordan and I, and then the guy who runs our firearm podcast, Victory Drive, Jacob. We went down to JJ Lawhorn's cabin in Tennessee, and he's a Virginia boy. He's a country music guy, and we were doing Southern hunting culture type podcast, right. And it's just different.
Absolutely.
Totally different.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was going to come off strong and say I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it. It's not my style. Like, I feel I would be lost. I don't want to do it that way, but I wasn't raised doing it that way.
Well, they right. run dogs for deer.
Run dogs, right.
That'd be one. Squirrel hunting is a big thing.
Yeah, that's fun,
But squirrel hunting with dogs, I had never done that, even though I grew up in the South. I'd never done it until we went to the Squirrel Master Classic.
Yeah, you guys went to that?
Yeah, we actually kicked their ass for 3 years.
That is crazy.
They wouldn't let you come back.
Like, because it's like machine guns. You know,
Really?
you're using pellet guns, but
Yeah.
you got like 10 guys. And so then like squirrel starts running and it's just, I mean, you're just buttering these poor
They need to do
squirrels.
that for raccoons. Well,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
there is some tournaments that do it.
There needs to be more.
I know
Yeah,
there's
a
one
lot
in central Iowa, right? That
It's big.
I saw Perry and all them guys from Drury killed like 90 coon, 85 coons in 24 hours overnight.
Right.
Oh,
That's
there's
insane.
way too many of them.
Yeah,
Way too many.
it is, and
It's an issue.
and it's a problem with our turkeys.
It's
Oh,
got to
yeah.
be one of
Oh, yeah.
the biggest turkey issue, right? Is the raccoon population.
I think it's the sole reason. Well,
Why doesn't
trapping.
the states? Something's got to happen. Like,
Well, they just did, so they are working in the right direction. They've made it legal now, where we can kill coons 24/7,
Yep.
365 days a year.
in Iowa, I don't know if Illinois has done that or not. I have to look.
Yeah, they just did. This is the first year in Iowa.
Yep.
Well, because if you look at it, did this on a podcast the other day too. What was it, like 2008 when 2005 when the trapping prices dropped?
And-
We pulled up some study that had the prices of hides of coons and
Furs and
coyotes and everything else. Yeah, and like coons at one time they were like 50 some bucks, I think, maybe even a little bit more.
For raccoon?
For coons, yeah.
Whoa.
And back in like the early 2000s, right? And then you could see, and then there was another chart with it that had the number of trappers, right? And so then as that number stayed high, you had lots of trappers and it was all good, right? And then made a big dip when those prices dropped. What caused them to drop? I don't know. We didn't read that much of it.
Yeah.
But then the turkey population took a really slow decline, but then you could see it progressively as got worse and worse.
Raccoons went up and turkeys
Yeah.
went down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was all based basically on the price of furs, because then you had guys that were trapping that couldn't even cover their costs with the
Then it's not worth their time.
right. And so then where they were, because you got to check them every 24 hours too. I mean,
Right.
that's a lot
of
of
effort.
time and energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you have a crazy coon population, nobody killing them, and then your turkeys seem to, like, I think all these scientists are trying really hard to figure it out. And I'm like, hey, I think I figured it out, guys. You know?
It's right here.
They just don't want to admit that that's the
Yeah,
problem. They're
yeah.
like trying to get around it.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to make furs be in style again and raise the prices.
Dude, I'll raccoon jacket.
Yeah.
But
Reversible.
I'm not like, I haven't been hunting, like bow hunting with trail cameras and all that stuff very long. And I have seen the increase of raccoons in the last 5-6 years go
Oh,
through
dude,
the
the amount of
roof.
coons that you can see sitting in a stand.
Hey,
my-
I got an idea. What if, in order to get your drone permit, you have to dedicate 5 years of turkey hunting from a drone?
Turkey hunting.
I'm sorry, raccoon hunting from a drone.
turkey hunting from a drone.
And
Like, what the hell you going with this?
You're just trying to throw-
the roos.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, you're buzzing them. You're trying to eliminate as many raccoons as you can with a thermal drone for 5 years to earn your permit.
It would probably work. I don't even know if you need 5 years.
It'd be fun as hell.
I guess
yeah.
how
Give
That's
them
something I can
give
get
them 2
behind.
years, they'd
Yeah.
make a difference.
I'll
Oh,
make an
yeah.
exception on the ethics for that. Right?
how well do you think that'd work though? Because then so you just like mark them and then you got to try to run up there and shoot them or what?
Yeah, I think if you flew over like a 40-acre square with thermals, how many raccoons could you find in a tree?
I don't.
Probably a shit ton, right?
I think you'd be surprised, yeah.
I would think baiting them would be. The
I was gonna say, I
easiest.
think you just put
like, throw out a
marshmallows out, and here
corn
they
pile.
come and shoot their ass.
Have you ever guys seen guys call them and they'll come down?
yeah.
Yeah. I've never done it, but I heard
Yeah,
it's
we
a
should
riot.
try that.
Have you ever ran with dogs?
I've never. Oh,
It
I
is-
have. It's been a long time.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
Have you ever called them?
Yeah.
Does it
Yeah.
come in like you think?
Oh yeah, they'd come in, and they growl like a dog, you know. And
So weird.
Went with Curtis
What do you
Barber
call 'em
one
with?
time. A coon call.
Well, I know, but like,
Were you using an electronic one? There's some
No.
electronic ones
No,
though,
he
that
blew
have
it.
like
He
the
blew
coons
the
and
call.
everything.
I didn't blow the call. He blew the call.
I'm surprised Curtis didn't just.
is it like a distress
pet 'em.
call or is it like a
No, it's
pistol?
another coon.
Is it another coon?
Yeah, it's another
Like,
boar. And man, they come in a hurry. Yeah,
little,
I mean,
little bears.
yeah, they're-
Interesting.
But
They
I
are.
mean,
they're
so
one thing that
2 years ago, I trapped just at my house because it was still illegal to actually go out and set traps during the off. But you could have traps like if coons are getting into your barn or your shop, and so just between my house and my shop, which is not attached.
nuisance thing.
Yeah, I trapped 79 coons. and killed
Holy
them.
cow.
Well, I let the kid down the street trap. He actually ran traps during trap season or during fur bearing season, and he caught 115. So we cleaned out 200 coons off of 40 acres, and
Sheesh.
our turkey population exploded. The next year, I had hens that had 13, 14 poults. I mean, like, and so it's a small a small test run.
Yeah.
But we could see the effect of it. So I don't agree 100% with what coons are an issue, but I still think that we're losing a lot of the, at least in Iowa. I don't know about Illinois, but in Iowa we're losing a lot of the natural cover, like where they talk about, we have all this progression of urban lands coming, and that's wiping out deer or places for deer to live. Where we're seeing it is in the agriculture side, and they're taking field X that's 80 acres and another field that's 80 acres, and there's that 20-acre patch of timber, and wiping that 20-acre patch of timber out so that they can farm that whole thing. And they're doing that. You can't argue with the guy who that's his livelihood, but at the same time, that's how you had turkeys in both fields.
Yeah,
and now you don't have any.
Right.
They don't have a place to go. So I think that has as big an effect as the coons, and maybe bigger.
Without a doubt. Well, I imagine just cleaning out fence rows makes a huge difference too.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, hell, you drive down County Road over here, you see it all over.
Well, a big thing around us too, like a lot of the farmers, there's big farmers around there, and it's a big swing and dig competition. Like, whose waterway can look like a golf course?
Man, that's not good for habitat, man.
No, it's not. And they're like, what's the point? There's no point to it. Like, they're just out there for something to do, pretty much.
Right, mowing the.
But like that's
grass.
like we don't have any pheasants anymore. The turkeys are down. Like, it's a problem.
Right.
I don't know about you guys. The other thing we have a ton of is bobcats. We got a
They're
pile of
getting
bobcats.
Increasingly common.
Yeah, we have so many.
We have a ton.
Illinois gives up maybe it's changed. Last time I knew it was like 500 permits for statewide.
Really?
Yeah, and you apply like first week of October.
Iowa,
or
it's certain counties, right? And you just need a fur bearers tag.
I think you get
You
at
gotta be a
least
landowner
two
as
though.
well, right?
I think
See,
you
I
get at
thought it
least
was
two
just
now.
one, but someone told me the other day that Iowa was going to 5 per fur bearer license. If you had a license, you could catch it.
It's also per county. Because I know Scott County, you cannot kill bobcats where I'm at.
Oh, see,
Really?
all the counties around us now they're wide open.
But that was only
because where he's at,
Muscatine.
Muscatine County, you can kill them.
Yeah, we can too.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look that up, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure
You
it's
can get a
county.
permit
when
and shoot them
I
with your
remember
bow.
like 15 years ago, someone said they saw a bobcat. You're like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You saw a cat. Like, there's no way.
I've
don't
never
think-
seen one until recent.
I don't think they'd even legalized it until like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Wasn't that year you killed
Yeah,
one the first year?
I think that was the first year, like 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Might have
In-
been
in
the first
Iowa?
year. Yeah.
See, I've had an opportunity. I probably saw my first one in the wild 4 or 5 years ago, maybe not even that long. And I've had ever since. I could, if legal and had a permit in Illinois, I could have shot one every year with my bow since.
Yeah. I feel like I get them on trail camera all the time.
I do too now.
All the time.
I've never seen one where I'm at.
I want to trap one, but I have to get one of them permits.
Right, permit.
You know,
I had
which is
one like
slim.
18 years ago, man. He was like cleaning himself at 60 yards. It was a big bastard.
18
like-
years ago?
Yeah. It was just like
That was a really
regular
precise
cat.
number. How do you remember that?
I was just throwing it out there.
Cool
Plus
story,
or
bro.
minus a year.
It was so
But the
confident.
thing was huge though. Just watching, like, just acting like a cat.
Am I the only one that's killed? I've killed 2
I've
of them
not
with
killed
my
one.
bow.
No.
I never have.
I've shot 2.
We
I could have.
hunted Missouri. Remember them? It was a mom with a couple cubs, or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like they were just sitting there on a log at 30 yards, just sitting there playing. I mean,
Yeah,
it's cool as shit to watch.
I've actually seen them when I couldn't shoot them and just watched them. And
Yeah.
they're a cool animal, but they are hell on turkeys.
Yeah.
Well, the one I saw this year, speaking of that, I was sitting in the stand right at first, like gray light, and I saw something moving. You know, they move different, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's moving too smooth to be a coyote. And I look, and he was getting on top of the logs and sneaking. He's going under the turkeys, getting ready. They just were waking up, and I'm like, he's getting food for sure.
Oh, for
there ain't
sure.
no
Right.
way that thing's not getting it. And I could have shot him. He's 12 yards, you know, and I'm looking down. I'm like, gosh, I just want the mount.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I just want that experience. Did you get yours mounted?
I have 2 of them. Out.
You have
Yeah.
to, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
It's
then
one of those things you got to get mounted.
I found another one dead one day, just laying in a field dead.
Really?
Nothing wrong with it or anything like that. So I had that one tanned.
Well, something was wrong with it.
Well, something was wrong with it, but I mean, nothing was wrong with the hide or any. I mean, like no
Weird.
bullet hole in it or anything like that.
Eagle
So-
or something.
Yeah, I don't know. So, well, nothing had eaten it. I mean, so I called the state and used my fur bearer. He said, if you use your tag, you can keep it.
Okay.
And so I had it tanned so that the kids at camp could feel one.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so
That is cool.
pretty cool.
Well, let's talk turkeys a little bit because I don't know when this episode's going to launch exactly. Well, I can probably get a ballpark guess. But I always reference
Sometime this year.
That's pretty good
Into
guess.
April.
I bet you're right.
Yeah, sometime this year. I always reference your turkey shot placement video for archery
Yeah.
because we've watched it on the podcast before. I brought it up over half a dozen times. It's the best explanation on where to shoot a turkey with a bow.
You brought it up on the podcast before?
Several times.
Oh, how would we miss that?
You don't care what we do.
Huh?
You don't listen. You don't listen. It's okay. It's okay.
It's
Now-
fine.
Which
now
is why
we
it
have
took
to find
so
out
long to
which one
get
it
you
was.
here.
That's not true at all. You were the problem, really.
Well,
Because I remember you sent me one thing of dates, and I was like, God dang, Kurt's popular. I mean, it was friggin' weeks.
we're pretty cool.
Yeah, I know you guys are.
But, I probably brought it up 7 or 8 times, honestly. But who's counting?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You've been getting grilled over that one, too. I don't know if you know
Shoot,
that or not. But
In a bad way?
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because so basically, I coined the term. Matter of fact, a guy just asked me in West Virginia this past weekend, did you come up with that term? And I was like, well, I had to have some way to explain it to my kids. And that is shoot them in the shiny spot. Mm-hmm. And what I was referring to is there's a copper place on a turkey's wing that is different color than the rest of the wing. And so I call that the shiny. When I was trying to describe to them, I'm like, see that shiny spot right there? Shoot them right there. Well, it's pretty big, so you can't just say anywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's typically what you do is you try to draw a line up the leg of the turkey. Go straight up the leg until you hit the shiny spot. When you hit the shiny spot, now you're centering both wings and both legs. And my thought process behind this was it was an accident when I found it. And that was I was trying to shoot a turkey in a traditional spot that you see on a 3D target, basically heart, lungs. You're for sake of argument, I guess you're shooting them in the wing butt, you know. And so if you were shooting there, I actually hit low. And when I hit low, this bird just flopped over on the ground and was flopping around, but he wasn't going anywhere. I jumped out of the blind and ran out there and grabbed him. I go back and I look at the video and I'm like, I don't know what just happened here. You know, I thought I hit him perfect, but I'm like, man, I shot that kind of low. So the next time I'm hunting, I'm instead of aiming where I normally aim, I aim low and I shoot this bird.
See what happens again.
Yeah, I'm like, it worked before, and now I can see. And I autopsied the one that I shot, and I could see that I'd gone through both legs, basically right through the drumsticks. Mm-hmm. And so I intentionally did it this time, and same result. Bird is right there flopping around on the ground. Then I shot a couple more, and now they're not. Some of them aren't even flopping on the ground. I get over there, and they're stone cold dead. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? And up until then, I had lost a turkey or two where I felt like I hit them well. You know, I put a shot on them, and it goes through, and the bird flies off. And so anyhow, long story short is people started asking me, you know, at this time I'd killed 5, then it was 10, then it was 15, then it was 20, and all with my bow. And all of them had been recovered right there. And so Warren and Easton are getting old enough now, and they start quizzing me, you know, and so I'm talking about where I'm shooting them and why I'm shooting them where I am shooting them.
This is the video right here, right?
Yep. So that's the first video that we did, and there's the shiny spot that you can see what I'm talking about, the copper band on the wing there. And basically, there you come up the 2 drumsticks are split right here, and I'm going right through that shiny spot, and I'm knocking and I know it sounds crazy. I explain myself every single time. If you shoot a turkey in its legs, it can't fly.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. Like when you explain it, it makes sense.
Right. They can't fly. And so when they can't fly, they don't get away. Mm-hmm. And so you don't lose your turkey. The argument that I think that I don't watch it, but I'm not necessarily killing the bird every time. I got to run out there and wring their neck, you know? And so is this inhumane what I'm doing? Well, is it any more humane to shoot and kill them when they fly off and land in a tree somewhere and you don't recover them, you can't find them?
Yeah.
So then you're going to go shoot another one.
Right. That's a good point.
You know, so you're going to go out and you're going to continue to hunt because you didn't kill a turkey.
I love to, not to cut you off, but that you just make a video and just don't pay attention to it at all.
Yeah, it's because
awesome.
we cut
It's
it and stuff.
gangsta.
You
I
know,
know,
so.
it's awesome.
It's pretty gangster.
I love it.
Right there is this strutting bird right there. So in the front corner of the shiny spot, I thought I was going to shoot that one. I can't remember my own videos.
He posted and ghosted. You hadn't watched this video since you
Posted and ghosted.
He's never seen it.
Yeah, he's like,
And this is the OG one, though.
Huh? That's the original, yeah.
Yeah, this one's a good example.
yeah, wham.
Yeah. So,
It just thuds him.
You can tell his legs are messed up. Look
Yeah.
at that leg.
see? And he can't go anywhere.
And that one died right there.
And he
too.
died right there. Another one comes in. Warren shoots that one too. We ended up killing 3 turkeys in that spot. And all three of them were right there.
Right, right. Well, it'd be like an airplane trying to take off without moving.
There's a second one, yeah.
Without landing gear.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's not a helicopter.
Well, that's the thing too that I think that a lot of those people that are arguing with him on that video aren't taking into consideration. How many of you shot that way now?
30 or 40.
I bet it's more than that. Because
Maybe,
we were talking about before Bushy Beard, Bushy Beard was what, 5 years ago?
oh no,
Probably.
7 or 8.
Well, you were 27 for 27 at that time.
Okay, so yeah, so probably closer to 50.
Okay, and so
It's a lot of turkeys.
It's a lot of experience.
It's a lot of testing.
Hey, listen, he's not trying to pull one over on you. Shoot him there. Like,
Yeah.
why would you lie about it?
Yeah.
It's a great video, though.
It is.
Anyone
Great
wants to know,
explanation, too.
shot placement, non-strutting turkey. You'll see it. It's the Raised Hunting YouTube.
yeah, we've got some on strutting turkey too. We did that as a separate one just because
Yeah.
it's a little bit different. But
Yeah. But it gives a great aiming point of reference. Like I've killed some birds with a bow and I like it, but there's just something nice about just going out and smacking them with a shotgun in the face. It's just like
I've not
Nice.
done that yet.
I do enjoy it.
you haven't shot one with a shotgun yet?
This year you will.
I've only killed one bird and it was with a bow.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. So when did you start turkey hunting? Last year? Or something?
Perfect.
No. Like,
He's not perfect.
I went, I don't know, 5,
Eric-
6 years in a
Eric
row and I
hates
killed one.
turkeys.
I hate turkeys.
Eric
Yeah.
hates turkeys.
You need to go hunt Miriam's. You need to go Western. Those ones are stupid. Those ones are way more.
I'm
fun.
in for that.
stupid.
They're the prettiest
Dude.
too.
Oh, you need. They are.
How come
so
is it
much
the
more
prettiest
fun.
things are the dumbest?
Like you know,
Get a
you
real
know,
hot
when-
chick, she's dumber than a bag of hammers. Bless her heart.
Hey, you're not wrong.
Bless her hearts, man.
you know you get birds here that if they like if you had a group of 2-3 toms come into a setup here and you shoot one of them, you could go back that afternoon. You could do anything you want with your decoys, do anything, and most likely the chances of you killing one of those birds is like 0.
Mm-hmm.
Miriam's, you could keep your blind, everything in the same spot, change your decoy, and you'll call in their buddies that afternoon and kill them too. Like we did that
Oh yeah,
multiple times.
Really?
Yes, they are way more fun.
That's where you need to go, Eric.
I'm down to go.
guess.
Hey, we got boys in
Let's go.
a western state we can go have a camp with.
Yeah, let's do it.
There's nothing wrong with hunting dumb turkeys. Nothing.
No.
That's what I need.
Well, that's a great thing about some of the Western state too, is the Western guys think that turkey hunting is really stupid, so they don't hunt them at all.
And no one cares about it.
No, they're like, you're going turkey hunting?
Like,
you guys
why?
are losers. Yeah,
Loser.
yeah. When we lived in Montana, we were the only people hunting turkeys.
Yeah, so you never hear about, like, when we go out west, talk to them, like, oh, you guys turkey hunt? What?
No.
What kind of turkeys you got up here? I don't know.
Annoying ones.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
What do you
they
mean?
don't, like they roost
The ones
over
that
the
run
house
around?
and stuff like
What?
that.
A lot of them hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah, they don't really give it much thought at all. I mean, it's a handful of people that are actually out west. There's two things, man: elk and mule deer. Mm-hmm. Even whitetails are just kind of a nuisance.
We get a lot
That's
of hate.
bizarre.
We went to Western Hunt Expo. We ran into you at Western Hunt.
Did you go?
And
What?
Have you ever been there?
It's a Western?
Yeah. Remember I asked you that earlier?
Yeah,
I seen you
Have
there.
you
I'm like,
for-
oh, yeah.
yeah.
it's I'm not gonna lie, I do feel the whitetail judgment.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
It's there.
They think
It's there.
they think everybody is just sitting over a corn pile.
Yeah, we
shooting
all
deer.
just suck to them.
Yeah.
There's like, well, okay. I was told this, and you guys have more Western cultural experiences. Before we went to Western, I'm curious on your guys' take on this. Someone goes, all right, you got to understand, we're not all like the Utah Westies. The Utah is a special place. Everybody's kind of like cliquey, and it's a fashion show, and it's kind of snooty. And then that's just Utah of the West. I could see it.
Oh, I think there's definitely that.
I don't know enough about Utah. I mean, at the Western Hunt Expo, I guess I would never be able to tell because everyone's from everywhere.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I can tell you from living in Montana and moving there, it takes a lot longer to be accepted in. And I think that the culture in the West, people moved out West to get away from everyone.
Right.
And so that's bred into the, generation after generation.
Yeah.
We live on this ranch. We're 5 miles down a gravel road. We have our own trash pit because we don't want to be bothered, I mean, so I think that they have their own way of thinking. And
Right,
so
right.
when you come in from anywhere else, and especially now what we deal with, on the East and West Coast type things where you have California that comes and runs land prices up and things like that in the western states, there's really some discontent for non-residents.
100, yeah, and I get that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
He
feel that
has
way,
no
and-
idea the trendy thing you're talking about.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it might just be. Yeah, but what you're saying is true because I do see that. Like I'm kind of that way down my rural county road. I see a car that I don't know. I'm like, what the fuck you doing out here?
Yeah. Who are you?
Who are you? So I 100% get that. I just felt like Utah, the Western Hunt Expo felt pretty trendy, and I felt like people were like, "Oh, you're a whitetail hunter."
Yeah, that there's
Like,
an
they
air to it.
kind of laughed.
Yeah,
Like we're not real hunters.
Oh, I definitely, I can tell you right now. I mean, when I lived there, that the guys that grew up there would tell you flat out, like a whitetail rack, you'd find it laying in the barn, where they'd have a mule deer rack in, that was hanging in the bar or in their house or whatever. But George Cook, I think it's hilarious. One of the firefighters I worked with, he had 160, no one had ever scored it. It's a 162-inch whitetail laying in a haystack. And
which for a Montana whitetail
That's a
is
giant-
huge.
giant deer,
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell, man? Why? Oh, it's just a whitetail.
It's
It's
still
just a whitetail.
big.
Crazy.
But
Antler.
but here's how there's like a hierarchy. So first you want to kill an elk. And if you can kill an elk with a bow, then you really have done something. But if you got to shoot one with a rifle, that's still okay too, because you probably tracked it in the snow, dealt with all kinds of weather and then if you're a really gung ho kind of guy, you might be the high country mule deer hunter. So there's kind of a hierarchy that goes on. Now, if you just suck at both of those, or you just had a bad year, then you drive out on the family ranch and bust some deer out of a coulee, and they come running out, and you shoot a whitetail.
Interesting.
And that's how they look at it. I mean, it's just no big deal.
Yeah.
It's probably,
See, that's
probably a
interesting.
little different for us too, because from being out there, and then too, when Dad used to be a pro staffer. Back when being a pro staffer was cool.
You were the pro staffer, you were just a regular dude.
Before,
I
before
worked
it was
for Primos.
Yeah.
And so that's how I broke into the hunting industry, was by accident. All because I was killing elk on public ground. We talked about that. Like, you have some stigma around you. I was only hunting public ground because I didn't have any private to hunt. I was looking for private ground to hunt if I could have hunted nuts around the bend.
Yeah.
But I was hunting public ground and I was killing elk.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it became a discussion with someone that, hey, we'd like to talk to you. Would you be willing to pro staff for us? And I don't know what a pro staffer is. I don't know what you're asking of me.
Yeah. What?
And they basically told me, we want you to do seminars and blow our calls. And well, I already use your calls. That's no big deal. I've never talked to anyone formally about what I do, but sure.
That's when pro staff actually meant something.
Yeah, like we would.
Yeah.
I remember as kids, East and I would ride with Dad, and we'd go around the state of Montana, which is a trip because across the whole thing, across the state, probably takes 8-9 hours to get across the whole state. And we go to Billings and Butte and Bozeman and all of the stores everywhere, and we go to a seminar, and there'd be, sometimes a couple hundred people or 100 people all there just to hear this elk seminar, right? And then like he had this one clip of, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Brad, actually, I think, when he shoots the bull super, super close.
No, that's Will Walker. Shoots
Okay.
it at 3 feet.
Yeah, and he'd show that clip when he's explaining something every time, and the whole place would go nuts.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those clips now where like if you had it for social, you'd be like, "Oh, dude, this is going right." Like if I post this thing,
views.
it's
getting
going,
views.
it's going nuts. Like it's
Going viral.
yeah,
Viral.
It's
That's awesome.
Dad's next crossbow clip. Like you knew this thing's gonna go crazy, and you'd get that reaction out of it. And so then he ended up he pretty much knows. We still know a ton of people out there.
Yeah.
And he had a pretty strong reputation out there because he was killing bulls every single year on public. Like even a lot of your guys out there that knew what they were doing, they still weren't killing a bull every year on public because killing elk is hard. You got to give them that. Like killing elk is flipping tough. Now there's certain places you can go where it's not near as difficult, but killing a half decent bull on public ground every year is a task.
For sure.
What
year was that when you were doing all that?
I started with Primos. I think we figured it out the other day, like 2003, 2004,
Okay.
and was with them for, even when I moved to Iowa, which was 2012, they asked me to continually run the pro staff out west for another 4 or 5 years. I was like, I don't live in the West. This is kind of ridiculous. Someone else should be doing this, But but they've just felt like I had a good hold on who the guys were doing everything and stuff like that. So we did that for a while.
That's so cool, man. And I like hearing. That's some of my favorite stories. How old were you in 2002, 2003?
7. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, that was like, East and I thought we were the hottest shit, dude, because it was like back then, like being pro staff was cool, right?
Oh,
and so
yeah.
then,
for sure.
Yeah, and so people would be like, what are you kids doing running around? And we're like, our dad is doing the pot or doing the seminar. So it's like, we can do whatever, and those people would always be really cool, and they would give East and I some stuff, like some calls or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
what
awesome.
they loved to do, their favorite was like, it was like the Iowa Deer Classic, but Western style. That's what you were going to. And so we'd go there, and Bill Ryer ran the show, and he brought in a trout pond. And so this trout pond would get delivered on Thursday evening. And so we had to be there
Which
because
is like
the
a kiddie pool.
Yeah. But there'd be hundreds of trout in there, and it's for these kids to be able to fish. Well, of course, they couldn't say no to these two kids that are there watching the fish. Eyes are like this big. And here they'd let them fish. Well, the trout haven't eaten or anything. So freaking here they come back, they're like, Easton caught 12 and I caught 7. And the next day a kid can't catch a fish to save his ass, because they're all full because Warren and Easton have fed them.
Fed every fish. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How far apart are you guys in age?
4 years.
Oh, that's more than I thought.
Yeah, we're a pretty good bet.
Yeah, 4 is a gap.
Easton was an accident.
Yeah? Is that what month was he born in? What month was
He was born in May.
Okay,
which is almost
a planned accident. Yeah.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, late May.
That's hilarious.
No, I lost the argument. She said, we're having another one. And I said, I don't know though. One's enough. I really like the idea of focusing it on one kid and raising one kid. I thought that would be enough, but I wouldn't trade it. Everyone says, because I told everyone I'd like to have a boy and a girl, and I got both, kind of,
Which one?
Easton, for sure.
Okay. Because he's not here?
He's almost got a beard. He's getting there.
Okay.
He's almost got
I couldn't
a beard.
imagine being an only child, though.
No.
That would have been awful.
Do weird shit to you that you wouldn't know.
Are you guys only childs?
No.
Why do we seem like it?
Dude, no. I couldn't imagine. Like, that would be...
Sometimes you can tell with people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can.
I think you can sometimes, too.
But it's like not their fault, though.
Right.
They don't have any choice about
Unfortunately,
it.
that's not their fault.
It's like, we got some buddies that are homeschooled. Sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes you can for sure tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not their fault.
Yes.
One of our camera guys was homeschooled.
Can you tell?
No, he's surprisingly normal.
Yeah, okay.
He's surprisingly normal.
like Ross was homeschooled. Do you know that? Well, I think Ross went to regular high school after a couple of years.
He went to, I think he was homeschooled to a certain point. Then he went to.
Yeah, but I just try to imagine, like, if I homeschooled my kids, they're way worse off if I do it.
See,
Nowadays,
maybe
it
not
might be
nowadays.
more
Nowadays,
normal.
yeah, I don't know.
All right, let's get into it. What's Ray's hunting stance on pronouns? Can we get into it?
What did you text me? I'm trying to remember what it was.
Oh, I said, I can't remember. Here.
That's bullshit.
Oh, that's what it was. He said...
That's what I say about this pronoun.
It's for sure bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
He texted me, he said, our studio is kind of a mess right now, so don't judge us.
Well,
And
it
I
was
said,
way worse because of the remodel. Like, I cleaned up as good as I could.
Yeah, that's what it was. So we won't.
Oh, hey, our audition's being remodeled, so things are kind of messy. Just a heads up. Looking forward, no worries. We don't judge unless you use pronouns. I said, I'm anti-trans. Which I'm not. But if a trans kid's at my kid's school reading them books, there's fucking problems.
Yeah.
I'll be down there putting my foot in some trans person's ass. They, them.
The level that it's gone to is ridiculous.
Oh,
The
try having a wife that's a teacher.
Oh, man, I couldn't imagine.
I never thought about that.
That would be tough.
Oh, it's the story she tells me. I'm like, I would have quit that job 10 years ago.
Yeah, that.
If they're going to do that, we should at least be able to identify as kids for youth season or something.
That's right.
Like, so I
100%.
Yeah.
Do you know the deer I could kill if I could have a freaking tag when those little kids get to go?
I want to
That'd be
identify as
awesome.
whatever it is. Not guilty is what I want to identify as. And beat their ass. But I said that it's like maybe my kids are better if I homeschool them, because you seen that video where that guy's got his son in the car seat and he goes, "My name's Cooper. I'm a boy. And he's like, we do these exercises every morning.
Yeah.
I'm a straight boy. I like girls. And it's like,
Surely it can't be too bad around here, I wouldn't think. You got to be rural
no,
enough.
but man, just
it's-
across the way, rumor has it there's a high school with a litter box in it.
That, no way.
I swear.
That stuff, that can't be legit.
I thought that too, but apparently
That's
That's-
wrong.
it's crazy.
It's wrong.
How do you not see that as a mental disorder? Like, how could any adult...
Can't bully kids anymore, man. And I'm not an advocate for bullying, but you got to have a little regulated bullying. A little bit.
If they're pissing in a litter box, you need a bully.
Dude, if I would have done that in high school, I would have got my ass kicked.
What's that?
Or if someone was doing that when we were in high school, we would have kicked them in the kid in a litter box.
That's right. Yeah. And like some of that's normal.
Dude, you want to talk about culture shock? Okay. So when you live, like Great Falls, Montana, there was Native Americans, outdoor people, and then crackheads. Okay. Like that was it.
Three
right?
good groups. Yep.
Yeah, that was it. There was not much else, right? And so I went from like pretty rough, like same thing. Like they would have, like if you were gay, you know, it was still going to be like you got beat up type thing.
Oh,
okay.
sure.
And that,
Yeah.
saying I'm advocating, I'm just saying how it was
That's
in
how it
Great
was.
Falls, Montana when I grew up as a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah. Just what it was.
Like, did you know any gay people when we lived in Great Falls?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh yeah, I knew one at the gym, Rick. But he was 40 some years
He's
old.
probably a good dude. He's probably when
He was-
we had normal gays.
Absolutely. I mean, I helped him move. You know, I knew.
Yeah.
I mean, he was moving.
Dad
he
didn't
asked
know
for-
he was getting hit on.
No, Mom's the one that told me that, you know, he's an attorney and he's, you know, homosexual. And I was like, he never came
was
on to
functioning.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
he just
Cool.
treated me like a normal guy. I treated him like a normal guy. And
Yeah.
you do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Well, so anyways,
One of the old fashioned ones.
yeah. So
Yeah, he didn't feel like he needed to let me
Let
know he
everybody
was
know.
gay.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So grow up in Montana, right, and then move for sophomore year to Winterset, okay, and which is here in Iowa, and so I'm a junior, you know, coming from a plate from.
Oh man, you moved at like a pivotal time.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
Well-
I hated where we moved to in Montana. When we moved to the northwest corner of Montana near Whitefish, it was nothing like the central part. Like when we lived in Great Falls, everybody hunted or fished or did crack, you know, like
Okay,
it was one of those
So we
things.
all got
Crack.
along, you know.
Yeah.
we all got along. My kind of people.
Yeah, you had those separate groups. And then we moved to the northwest corner and all of the hunting sucked because the amount of wolves, lions, grizzlies had just destroyed the animals. There was only 4 kids that hunted in the whole high school. Okay, so
Wow, that's surprising.
That's
yeah,
rough.
In
'cause
Montana.
it was like California. I mean, kids are driving Mercedes-Benz to school and stuff. We lived 30 some miles out of town because we couldn't afford to live in town. Like a lot on the lake was legit a mill.
$1 million lots.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Drew Bledsoe had a house on the lake, like lots and lots of money.
1% money type people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like the high school kids are driving ridiculous vehicles and all they do is smoke weed. The principal literally he called me into the office one day because I would wear a hunting shirt every day. Right. And he said, you know, you need to stop wearing hunting shirts. Okay. You can't, that's offensive to other kids here. So you can't be wearing that. And I said, no, I'm going to keep wearing hunting shirts. So I wore another one the next day. He said, all right, Warren, you need to come in here. He said, we're gonna call your parents. And I said,
Do it.
okay.
All right.
All right.
Put it on speaker, please.
I dare you.
I was like, please do. I was like, I'd be happy for you to call my father right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And he called my dad. And my dad's like, all right, I'll be right there. You know, and so the principal was like, your dad's on the way. And I was like,
Hey, you're in trouble.
I was
So
like,
you're
yeah.
over here making Play-Doh snakes. You're like, I can't wait to see this.
yep. I was like, I think you're a little too confident, buddy. We'll just see how this goes.
Yeah.
And so anyways, dad comes in and just rips him because you walk by a kid with a weed shirt, right,
Yeah.
or a pot leaf.
And so the principal tells me that the kids are smoking dope and he can't stop them. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't stop them? And I mean, we just came from what I considered a much rougher town in Great Falls. Not that it
Yeah.
was a bad town. I love
There's real people there.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
it was a rougher place. But yet, there's more issues going on with my kids in the schools in 3 or 4 weeks than what they dealt with in the
Yeah, the
7 or 8
first
years.
day I was there, another kid took scissors, put them on a flipping iron in home ec, and branded another kid's face
Holy shit.
Yeah,
because he thought it was funny.
Man, you seen some shit too, huh?
So-
You're
It was
dope.
So, yeah, I want to hear what. So when you roll in.
So this principal tells me I can't do anything about it because the kids are smoking dope with their parents. the parents are buying it for him. So there's no way for me to really, I mean, there's nothing I can enforce to stop this.
Yeah.
Yet he's telling me that he can't have on a shirt that tells him that he's going to be able to, you know, all God's creatures have a place right next to the mashed potatoes
Yeah,
and gravy.
I know exactly what shirt you're talking
You
about.
know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
you guys need to get a grip on what's going on. I mean, it didn't do any good. Well, it did.
I wore that shirt the next day.
Yeah, but what
Like,
it
call
forced,
him again.
What's up?
We keep
but what
calling
it
them.
forced us to do was we ended up moving.
No
I mean,
kidding.
because we couldn't deal with it. I mean,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and Karen understood, was her job at the time. I was retired from the fire department, so I mean, it just was one of those places, and it is. I mean, it sucks to see society so different in so many places.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it is like and sometimes you know it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just kind of like walk into it.
Yeah.
And we walked into this one. I mean,
Man, in Montana. But
Yes.
I get if it's one of them
Well, it was
pockets.
it was probably the worst, other than maybe Missoula. There's probably not a singular town that would have been more,
liberal.
than
I mean,
Whitefish.
It's a resort town. It's
Yeah, yeah.
snow
Yeah.
skiing and stuff like that.
Because
So
I
it
heard
brings-
Jackson Hole's getting that way too.
Yeah, I would any of those tourist type places where you get a lot of people coming from other countries and things like that move in and then
Yeah, yeah.
But then what ended up happening was it just took over the high schools and the but even in the whole town itself, you could tell was just run in a different manner. It was just
well, they're just
Weird.
like what you would consider a true Montanan.
Yeah, yeah.
No, not even.
Not anywhere close to that.
No.
Oh, they probably despise that area. you
Well, I
know?
mean, like I was
Looking
sure
back.
I'm a little weird, but I wasn't like that weird. And I had no friends. You know, I was friends with the 4 other kids that hunted. That
Yeah.
was
Right.
it. And
And they're probably like, thank God, another one. We got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
We're
I'm outta
growing
here.
by numbers.
So when
Yeah.
you moved to Iowa,
well, so then I moved to Iowa, which was still way better. But like the very first day of school, they do a assembly and everything. And I remember thinking like, what the hell? Our principal was gay,
oh,
you know? And so I'm
I
like,
just can't win.
and he was fairly he was fairly flamboyant about it, you know.
Yeah,
like he
yeah.
wasn't like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
He's
like
not
you
like,
could
"Hey,
hear it
I'm
in his
gay."
He
voice,
had
you
weak
know,
wrists,
and
yeah, yeah.
you could tell like there was no doubt like this dude's batting for the other team, you know.
yeah,
and
yeah.
so and then there was like a couple other gay kids in school, and I was just like, it was just like from culture shock to culture shock, but like here was still way better because 99% of kids were normal and
Right.
I got along with the gay ones too, but it just was weird going from somewhere where,
Yeah.
like, if they were gay, they weren't going to say anything, right?
Yeah.
To somewhere where it was like
Yeah,
openly.
you had 3 genres of people really max the first,
Yeah.
in Great Falls or whatever.
I think it helped that we moved into the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so where we lived in the country before, but you couldn't enjoy it because of the grizzly bears and the mountain lions. And
Right.
it's kind of funny when you were showing that video a little bit ago, if you could have zoomed in, you could actually have filmed where a mountain lion buried a deer on that video right from our porch.
See, that's crazy. That's a different realm of
Yeah,
things,
it's
man.
so
Like,
weird.
oh, he
Like,
was,
you can't even let your kids go out and play in the yard.
No, we
Dude.
had bear spray on the tractor, on the mower.
Everywhere.
You had bear spray.
Mowing your lawn, like, oh
Yeah,
shit, you're done a bear.
Well, you just have it just in case. We never once had a grizzly in the yard. We had black bears in the yard, had a moose in the yard, had mountain lions in the yard. Got trail camera photos of several different mountain lions, but so it was definitely different to live there. I wouldn't change it for anything, you know.
it sounds
no,
cool.
I'm glad I had those experiences for
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's
Which-
neat because you don't run into many people that moved from like Montana to Iowa. I feel like it's very rare.
Opposite.
It's normally the opposite from
Right.
my perspective, I guess. Anyway,
Yeah.
But-
Well, but what I was getting ready to say about Warren, I think the part that helped him understand that, yeah, it might have been a culture shock that it was slightly different in high school, but now we lived in the country and you could walk out the door and the turkeys are gobbling. We own 50 acres. Our house is on 50 acres, and that's not huge, but it's enough to hunt when you live in
yeah.
the Midwest.
Yeah.
And so I can, like, every day that he'd leave for school, he was like my road report. You know, he's like, well, I saw this buck here. Oh, there's a giant. I mean, like, so he saw a 200-inch deer over by Kincaid's there that hit the road one day. Guy
Almost
ended up killing it. You know, so for Warren and Easton, then all of a sudden to be able to be now they live in a place where other kids did this too. Matter of fact, Warren had no idea, but the kid that showed him around our neighborhood was the local poacher.
Literally ended up catching a poacher later on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
we did.
Yeah.
We caught him.
Oh my gosh.
But
He's changed now though, so we're good.
yeah.
Okay.
But
Unless
I mean,
he gets a drone.
it just got to, it was like to trade off of being able to live in the country and being able to go outside, shoot a gun, shoot our bows in the yard, which you could do all that in Montana as well. But there wasn't anyone else to do it with.
Right. Yeah.
You
that
know,
makes
there
sense.
was no one else to enjoy it with. And now,
And we had snow till May.
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, that would be the bummer of it all.
we had to
bizarre.
buy a tractor literally to get out of the
leave.
driveway. Like every
leave.
single day,
Yeah, well,
it snowed.
we'd get
every
over
day.
50 inches of snow just in our house.
That's just not fun.
No, you get tired of moving.
That's
it.
just too much.
It is.
So
Yeah.
was your move from Montana to Iowa just because of hunting?
No, it was, well, one thing was that these guys were not doing good in school because of what was happening. And so that was one of the parts. Another part was the hunting. I had retired from the fire department, and Karen had the opportunity as a financial advisor she had moved to the northwest corner to save a branch that she did. That's what she did. And so they kind of owed her. So we were like, now let's pick where we want to go, not where we have to go.
Right.
And so we really thought we were going to end up like in South Dakota, Wyoming, right around that, because that was a quick, easy connection to the Midwest. I love the Midwest. I've always thought of it as one of the places I'd like to live, but I also love the West. So I thought that would be a great transition. Well, it just turned out that the job that came open, there was a gentleman that passed away and a office became available. They said, hey, would you guys be interested in moving to Iowa? Karen had never been here.
You probably like,
I was like, well,
Let's go.
I was every 3 years I would draw a tag. Back
Sure.
then you could draw one every 2 or 3 years. And so I was coming here to hunt. So I was like, yeah, this could be a good deal. And so we came down and looked at it and immediately checked land prices and things like that. And we're like, okay, we could actually own a home here where we could live on some ground and be able to enjoy it. No grizzly bears, no mountain lions in the yard.
Unless they followed you here.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the other part is I was pretty centrally located in the United States, period.
Yeah.
And so it made it pretty nice.
The other thing that sealed it was every year we go antelope hunting in Wyoming, and it was from where we lived in the northwest corner to where we go antelope hunting. It was like 12 hours or like 11 something. And then where we moved to in Iowa, it was 11 something.
You got closer.
It was the same flipping distance,
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, and then looking back now too, the fact that our season doesn't, I'm not sure when it starts here in Illinois, but here in Iowa, it doesn't open
October
until
1.
October 1.
Same thing
And
over
then
here.
out west, you're almost done with archery seasons by October 1.
Guys, I gotta say, real quick, I'm very impressed with the elaborate story you guys just told, all for saying that you hated gays and you wanted to move out of Montana. It's a pretty good story.
I never
Keep telling it. Keep telling it.
I never stated that. I just said that it was a culture shock.
Interesting.
He's like, we had three types of people. Indians hated them. Crackheads hated them. I'm not putting that on you.
We had such... I remember football practice too, because like you always knew the Indian kids on the very first day. Well, one, you could tell most of the time, but they looked like an Indian.
Yeah, yeah.
But then the second part was they'd go through their names, right?
Oh, yeah,
so like
yeah.
we had a kid named Shadow in class. I remember we had this kid on our football team. You know, there was first day they'd put tape on your helmet. And they'd write, and his name was Red Dog, right? Like the most badass name
that's sick.
you could ever have.
like legally on his birth certificate, it was Red Dog.
legit Red Dog. That was his name. Well, because that was a
Got
like
that dog.
That's how most
That's how you
of
had-
your Native Americans, the Indian culture, you're named after whatever happened. I know there's a like really crude joke that goes along with that, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I won't comment on that, but my point is like, so Running Rabbit is the last name. River Water or Cloudy. I mean, all those things.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's just something that happened that day.
you got used to it when you lived there.
Yeah, that
because
was like their legit names.
legit names.
But like, it's funny because when we started hunting out west, we'd never really been around Native Americans because we don't have
You don't have it.
we don't
around
have
here.
it,
Right.
You know. And then I started like learning about it more, and like you hear it, it's like it's so we just don't have. If you see a Native American around here, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like you kind of like you just don't see it. That sounds bad. There's no way to say it without sounding like racist, but
Dude,
it's
I didn't
just
see
true.
a black
you
person
know?
until I was like 10.
Really,
How
I
was
believe
it?
that in
8?
Montana.
Yeah, that was
Maybe 8.
at church because you asked me what was wrong with him.
But That's an honest
geez,
shit
Warren.
Charlotte's take.
We had not shut. We didn't like. I grew up in Washington D.C. Man, I mean, go look at my high school yearbook. There's more Nguyens than there is any other name in there.
What's a Nguyen?
It's a Korean.
Oh, I didn't.
Last name is Nguyen. N-G-Y-U-E-N.
Oh, I think that's Wen.
Well, we pronounced it Nguyen, so I don't know. But my point is that I got along with everybody. I mean, or not every. I mean, there were some kids I didn't like, but it had nothing to do with
because they sucked in general.
Yeah, it wasn't their ethnic background or their color or anything else. And I raised my kids to do the same. But they had literally in Montana never seen a black person. Never seen anyone of different color.
Yeah.
So he had no idea. A guy walks into church and Warren's like, "What's wrong with him?" And I'm like, "What does he mean?"
Shut up.
You know, I'm like, "What is he
God bless
asking
him,
me here?"
Warren.
You know,
Not now.
And
You
so,
didn't put
Not at church.
yeah,
How old was I?
probably 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine if you went to a tribe in Africa and it's all black dudes.
True.
And White Devil rolls in. You know what I mean? They're like, "What the hell is that?"
What the hell's that guy?
what's wrong with that guy?
Guy's eyes are blue. What's wrong with him? You know what I mean? It'd be
Yeah.
the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know, if you go to the Montana version of a prominently black country, and I
You're
roll
gonna have
in
the
there,
same thing.
they're gonna be like, "What the hell?" It would be crazy. Can you imagine?
Oh, it was growing up in Montana was awesome just because the amount of stories that we got just from that, just from the fact that we're from Montana and growing up there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But too, I like a lot of people, I don't think get to ever experience or really have a true grasp on how barren it still is out there. Like being able to go into the east side of Montana, like there's legit nothing. I remember that was the other thing that was crazy to me about Iowa. Like I was used to, if we went on a road trip or we went to go do dad's seminars, you could drive for hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe even longer in some places doing 80 miles an hour and not go through a town. Like there legit be nothing. Where here, you got a Casey's at least every 20 minutes.
Or closer.
least.
Yeah,
At
like
least.
it may not all be big towns, but you're gonna at least go through something.
Yeah.
Right.
Consistently.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because thinking about it, it's probably made you guys such better hunters coming from like Montana hunting background to the Midwest, and like, well, obviously your experience in elk hunting, but I feel like you guys with what you know and what you picked up from your old man, and like, even though you haven't hunted elk for as long as he has and whatever, that's got to be such a cool thing to have in the tool bag. Like no matter where you go, you kind of got something you can pull out of the bag.
I think there's honestly been a learning curve. He would be able to speak better on it because I was still a kid when I moved here. I mean, I lived or was still in high school at least, but like there was definitely to figuring out the whitetails, and then you could see his evolution too of the deer that he started shooting when we first moved here compared to what he's shooting now. Which I've always told him that he's a decent deer hunter, but he's an unbelievable elk hunter. That's why he had such a good reputation in the West, because he's just, those people that just, they have something about whatever, wherever they go, like they are going to kill
when they're a legit killer.
Whatever, yes. Yeah. And that is him with elk. Like, if there's ever somebody that I wanted with me elk hunting, it's that dude. And the story I share all the time is we were in Montana a few years ago, and we were going up on this mountain behind this cabin every day, right? And we would glass for elk, and then we'd try to find elk, and you go get behind them where they're going all to bed and try to call an elk in. Well, the one day, I mean, we'd been doing this for I don't know how many days straight at this point, at least a week, and it's like 9 o'clock, no elk. 10 o'clock, no elk. I'm like, all right, we're going to go to the cabin, go get a snack or whatever. He's like, no, we need to sit here. Hold on, okay? All right, 11, no elk. I'm like, okay, what are we doing? And he's like, no, we just need to hold on. I'm like, okay. Noon. And now I'm out of snacks. I'm like, dude, it's flipping lunch. Like, it's the middle of the day. There's not going to be any elk moving. Like, what? He's like, we just need to hold on. I shit you not. 30 minutes later, 100 elk show up. Just going berserk. And I'm like, and there was the thing that was so crazy. There was nothing, not a single thing that would have gave you an indication, not a bugle, nothing that would say
there's
100 elk are going to come up over this ridge at some point, and then we go up there and kill one. Mm-hmm. And yet that's exactly what happened. And so he just has an intuition with elk like that can't be taught. It's just some kind of gift, I guess. So like he's a good deer hunter, but I don't know that he's quite got like that with it. Where elk is just, he just speaks their language. I mean, it's just
That's where you got the whole sitting in the blind for 12 hours for a turkey, huh?
I have a patient when it comes to hunting. My wife will tell you that number one, I have better communication with animals than I do with humans. She would tell you, because I love to call. I love, and she loves to come with me even when she's not hunting. She's like, I just like to, when you're calling. So she loves turkey hunting and elk hunting more so than whitetails. I'll do it with some, but it's not the same vocalization.
Yeah.
But I think the West teaches you focus. And I think there's certain things that you have to learn in much more direct or more in what I'm referring to, wind. I think I was super fortunate. So these guys were fortunate that a lot of the stuff that they learned, I didn't teach it to them. They were just around as I was doing it. So they were picking up on it and I didn't even realize it, because we've noticed as we're doing our own podcast, we talk about these things and all of a sudden I'm like, shit, I never even really thought of that.
Yeah.
I just did it.
Right.
But I remember one of the questions people would always ask me was about thermals when I was doing seminars. And where I really learned a lot about wind and understanding thermals was I had to get trained. I was a structural firefighter, which meant we, just did fires around town. But within a couple of years, we had major wildfire outbreaks. And when they did, they came in and said, hey, you guys need to get your red card. We're going to have to send you guys out to protect some houses outside of town. So you have to understand how to handle this. And when you go through those classes, they teach you about fires building their own wind turbulence and they teach you about how wind is going to strike a mountain and how it's going to.
Yeah.
And so you learn. And I was like, and some dude asked me one time, and I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, or maybe we would be, but we would all be together. We would own this whole block, or all the way to, if I could have coined and put out there all the knowledge about wind that these classes offer, because it can take hunters to a whole nother level. All of a sudden you are able to see where a deer is going to show up and why, why the elk. I mean, there are so many times that I was able to use, we're going up there and someone's like, the winds that are, wrong. We can't do that. It won't be that way there. And you go anyhow. And then when you get there, the wind is different, so things like that you do pick up, and like I said, until someone asks you, all you would know is that, okay, I'm going up on that mountain and those elk are there. And I know in my head, I'm telling myself the wind's going to be different, but I'm not discussing that with anyone.
You're
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. You're just
sharing it.
doing
Yep.
it.
Right. You're just doing what you naturally do. So, yeah. And then I think the other part of it that you have to take into account is the West is not forgiving. I mean, it's real. I mean, you get stuck on a mountain. He learned the hard way because he wasn't listening and almost, could have died. I mean, it was one of those situations where you can, like when we would go on these trips, they didn't know it because they get in the truck and we go to the next town. And it's 300 miles away. No big deal. But I had snacks, I had shovels, I had everything in case you get stuck. You cannot play a game with Mother Nature, with the realities of 80 miles away and there's no other gas station or whatever.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so you learn to deal with that kind of stuff on the mountain. It's like a mechanic. Mechanic knows everything about a truck. I think when you hunt the West, you need to know everything you can about the outdoors.
Yeah. That makes that's what makes it scary. I think for a lot of guys from the Midwest, man, because
absolutely,
you think too, anywhere I hunt in Illinois, if I get lost, I just walk one direction, I hit a county road eventually.
That's literally what we tell kids at camp.
Yeah.
We tell
just
the Iowa kids,
and go.
Just walk a straight line. Don't do the stop thing. You're just gonna be sitting in the same spot. Just walk. Okay, you're gonna hit a road.
Yeah, you'll find a spot.
Where the Montana kids, though, at that camp, it's entirely different. And a lot of times those kids, though, too, they have an entirely different understanding. Like they take that class when we go over wildlife survival and stuff way more seriously than a kid in Iowa. Because a kid in Iowa is like, really, I'm not going to die. Where a Montana kid knows I could die. So they really do pay attention to it because they probably either know somebody or have been in a situation themselves, where you got a storm that rolls in and it's crazy how fast you can have a storm roll in on you and go from
hail
70
to
and
snow to sunshine. What's the age gap that you guys have in all that?
12 to 17.
12 to 17.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is cool. Can you guys want to break some of that down? Like how does someone get involved or what's it all about?
Go ahead.
So basically the main goal is just we follow the bow hunter ed curriculum. So kids come for 4 days and 3 nights. And then by the time they leave, so we break down the entire curriculum where they're not having to take it in just like a written form, right? So they'll get to go through, learn their bow. We take them through shot placement. We help them. They get to learn to hang a stand. They get to climb a stand. They get to shoot out of the stand. We lay out blood trails for them. They get to watch the dogs work. We'll put Dan on a blood trail and stuff like that. We'll even do a little deal where hopefully there's not too many campers for this year that are listening, but we'll have them, track across the private property fence line, and then we call Dad David Dolder, and he'll dress up in overalls or something and be a landowner, right?
Dude,
and then,
that's awesome.
It's quite the experience.
Yeah, and then he'll jump these kids, Be like, what are you doing on my property and stuff, and that has such a lasting impact on them because
Dude, that is awesome.
What are you doing, my property?
Yeah, so like,
I want to do that.
Yeah, well, we have another dude that
Can we be 3 farmers?
3 gay farmers you might encounter in Iowa.
Hey, we have a guy that comes from New York that had, he's changed every year because there'll be 2 of us. I'll do one group of kids will come to me, another group goes to him, and we're far enough apart that no one knows
Right.
that you can't hear each other or see each other. But one year he had nothing but rainbow, everything on, and he's a big dude. Like
he played arena football and stuff.
Football.
So like
Oh,
he's
no kidding.
260-pound dude,
So you're just like putting these kids in like challenging situations, like
Something they might
life.
run into.
Imagine if you could have gone to school and instead of ever sitting down in a classroom and learning math, that you got to do it.
Yeah.
That you were actually out physically running a tape measure, let's say, and building a house.
I'd be way better at school, I could tell you that.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's what I try to tell these kids. I'm going to be the first instructor that's ever told you I have to give you a book because they require it. Don't open it. Don't open it, and I'm going to make sure you get 100 on the test because we're going to cover everything that's in that book because you're going to do it with a bow in your hand.
Yeah.
And for the kids that don't have bows, we provide bows for them. So we'll take 50 kids at a time, keep them for 4 days and 3 nights. And by the end of the thing, not only do they learn what they're learning in the classroom, outdoor classroom setting that we have set up for them, but they're staying in tents. They're learning what it's like to live with the other kids. We have no issues with the transgender or anything. I even had someone call us one time and say, "What do you guys do about this?" Nothing, because the kid your kid can be whatever he wants or she wants, staying in her own tent or her own or his own tent.
Yeah.
No one gets in anyone else's tent. And then when they go to the bathrooms, it's single person in there at a time. So I don't care. But I'll tell you right now, your kid's probably going to get picked on. So you might want to seriously think about whether you want to send them or not. But other than that, we have no problem with them coming.
Right, for sure.
no phones.
That's even cooler.
That's awesome.
They get their phones. I think we give them to them like
One night.
one night to
Check in.
Yep.
check in, call their parents, and then get all their friends' numbers and everything, which is crazy,
that is cool.
dude.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, you can watch them on the first day, and there'll be a few that came together and stuff like that, and then and they'll all sit at
By
their own
the
little
end, they're all
tables.
best friends.
Yeah,
Oh,
going like
tears
Saturday
for
night.
life.
Saturday night, we can't get them to shut up, and
Right.
go to bed. I mean, and they all make all kinds of friends just because they're not on their phones.
Yeah,
you know, and we have lots of kids that have built lifelong friendships from camp, and we've seen stuff. There's this thing we do. It's called a water shoot, and we've seen this legit change multiple kids' lives. I kid you not, like change their life, and it's crazy to watch because it's all it is we take 2 Ziploc bags and put them like on a pendulum, and you take 2 kids and we give them a
Genesis bow.
Genesis bow, so that way it's even. They don't get to use their own bows or anything, and then whoever hits their bag first and dumps the other guy, they win. And then we just put it into a bracket, and then it's enough of a random thing that usually it's not like your best shots.
Yeah.
Like we had a kid named Adam one time that probably not going to be the coolest kid in school and winning a whole bunch of things. And I can't remember, did he win that first year or made it in second, but it gave that kid the confidence that he was like, holy shit, I can do this too. I can do these things that, and then he came back until he was aged out and different kid, entirely different kid. He was one of those kids, you could not talk to him. You couldn't, you could ask him.
Socially a little uncomfortable and stuff like that.
You could ask
probably.
him
when
every
he-
question you wanted, and it's,
Sitting at the
no.
picnic table, he's got his head down, staying away from everyone. 2 years later, I'm down at night checking on the kids. At 10 o'clock, it's lights out. The tents are instructors don't stay with them. I mean, we check on them and keep tabs on them. But the kid that I got a handful of kids that are still awake and still jacking their jaws, and I shine my light, and it's Adam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and here's the kid that wouldn't talk to anyone 2 years ago. Now I can't get him to shut up. At the time that I'm telling him, get into his tent, I'm thinking, how cool is this?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You know, or the parents that write in and say, you know, I don't know what I've tried for 14 years to do what you guys did in a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the other things that we involve is they also say grace before every meal.
Mm-hmm.
We also raise the flag every day. We pledge allegiance. We don't hide any of that. We tell everyone this is not a Christian camp.
Mm-hmm.
This is not about being a part of any party, you know, party
Right.
line or anything like that. This is about being an American Christian and proud. And
Yeah.
so we're going to just do these things. If you want to come to our camp, great. If you don't come.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Good
But
American
you're going to
values.
participate in all of those items at camp.
Yeah, no, I
You
like
know.
that a lot.
How many do you guys just do one camp a year? Or
Oh, no,
what's the,
we're
what's
in
the breakdown?
Six states now.
6
Holy
days.
cow.
And actually going to a seventh. Pennsylvania's going to open 2 camps this year. They want to have
awesome.
4. So Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Dakota, Montana, Iowa, Missouri. I feel like I'm missing one, and I probably am.
Kansas?
No.
I can't remember. them all.
Anyhow, I got close. Look, you can find Raise the Full Draw online. As
Awesome.
well.
We'll put a link in the episode description.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So everyone check it out.
Yeah, registration's open right now for kids 12 to 17. So
I love that, man.
It's so awesome.
Is it the only thing that, I mean, I'm sure Boy Scouts and stuff can get close, but that's it's got to be the only thing focused like this, right?
Oh yeah, I don't know of anything else. I know that like there's a few, like Kicking Bear does some stuff, but I think it's more like day camps and
They do.
nowhere near as
Yeah, everyone does. There's a lots of day stuff where people
Yeah.
can put a bow in their hand or a pellet gun or a BB gun, but we really and only reason that, I mean, even though they got bows in their hand, the only reason we're using bows because it's an insurance thing. If I had 50 kids with guns,
Right.
Get a little hairy. Yeah.
so we use the bows, but the bows have worked out fantastic because it takes them some. I mean, they start from anywhere from absolutely never ever shot, have no idea what hand or what eye they are, to they come and you can tell, oh, this kid, you know, he's got a 20-inch stabilizer on here. He's got a nicer sight than I've ever shot, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you watch them all morph together. you
Yeah,
know,
that's awesome.
and it's,
That's very cool.
it
Yeah,
is.
and we assign them all a bow. The ones that don't have bows, so they don't have to have a bow. You know, and then we measure it to their draw length and everything else, so that they're actually getting a bow that fits them and able to shoot it. And it's amazing some of the kids that they won't be able to hit the broadside of a barn the first day, but by the end they're usually shooting pretty
pretty
dang
good.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
That's got to be pretty rewarding.
It's fun.
It is. I mean, I've been doing it. Well, for me, it started again in Montana. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation invited me to blow elk calls, and that's where it all started. It was a one day camp, and then they asked if I'd come back the next year. It went to 2, 3, 4. Then I was like, hey, we should be able to do this and work with the states. And actually, so these kids are certified with their bow hunter education when they complete camp.
See, that's the best.
You know, so that they actually get something out of it. And even if your state doesn't require it, if you get to be our age and all of a sudden you want to go to Alaska, you got to have bow hunter ed. You know, you want to go to one of these states, all of a sudden you're scrambling going, where do I find this class? I got to call the state
Right,
and
right.
try to get this done.
Right.
And these kids will have it for life.
Yeah.
That is so
And you're
awesome.
fighting the good fight against crossbows all at the same time. That's the real reason behind this, isn't it, David?
We've actually had a few kids that the parents have asked, you know, do you guys allow crossbows? And we don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course you don't.
That's so
You just,
awesome.
you just hang up.
And
I
then
love it.
That's when Warren gets on and goes, real American values.
Yeah, this has been a master plan for years.
Yeah, I love it.
It's working.
We've indoctrinated like a couple thousand kids at this point.
I love it. Yeah, it's working. It's working. Dude, it's awesome.
That
You
is
guys
so
are the
awesome.
shit.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
I don't either.
You guys are.
Keep
That's
doing
pretty
what
cool.
you're doing.
man, I didn't know we were gonna get back into our childhood or my childhood. But I'm thinking about those camps that we had. Dude, we had where I got to go to like camp when I was a kid was the most legit thing, you know. Which I'm to those kids it is too. But I'm getting to think back of like to where we got to go because. Do you guys know where Ennis, Montana is?
No idea.
Okay, it's like right by Yellowstone, right? And so the place that we had camp the very first time for the first 10 years or whatever it was the most legit, gorgeous place in Montana that you could ever imagine. I mean, like, just, it was crazy. Unbelievable. Like, people would, well, now, I mean, now it's gotten a whole bunch of imports and multi-million-dollar lots and everything else. But before it was kind of under the radar. I mean, it's just crazy. The more we're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, man, I'm really, had a really blessed childhood. Like, thanks, Dad. Appreciate that.
It was a cool deal. I mean, so these guys were going before they were old. They weren't 12 to 17 at the time, but they were going with me because I was teaching him. Mom would come, and so that they were there.
Then it was our dad does the calling station.
Right. The cool kid crowd.
But it was one of those things. They grew up in doing it and being a part. Actually, they were my eyes and ears that told me what the kids wanted, because they would be talking with the kids, and the kids would be, oh, we want more archery. We want to be able to do this. We want to take more we had some times where we've done photos where the kids could actually go out and take a photo.
That's cool.
So just all kinds of stuff. But I mean, going in where he's talking about is in Montana. And so when we talk about those kids taking it seriously, they had to. I mean, so we're like, when now it's written in our, when you go on to Raise the Full Draw's website, do not send your kid to our camp, even in Iowa, if they've never stayed away from home.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
You don't want a kid sleeping in a tent for the first time away from home, especially in Montana when you would, the first day of camp, if your parents gave you snacks, you got to give them to us. We're not taking them. We'll put your name on them, but they cannot be in your tent. You can't have water bottles. You can't have a cooler. You can't have anything that you see the regulations in Yellowstone. We have to have the same for this camp because we have bears here.
Right.
We have mountain lions here. We have wolves here. This is not a joke. And so when you have that kind of a conversation with a kid that's 12,
it freaks them out.
Absolutely. Or
why?
It freaked me out.
I can't have these M&Ms in my pocket.
Right. He's taking my Twinkies. What?
You're talking about Reese's.
I mean, it's a good point.
I'm gonna eat them.
But also, too, think back when you were young. If you've never been away from home, that'd be kind of freaky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in the mountains, dude. Like where we were at, because it's remote. It is not. It wasn't just like
it's no joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it's black, it's black. Like you can't see.
Wasn't running to the county road and getting back to town and calling mom.
No.
15 miles. I had to take one kid home that ended up at 1 o'clock in the morning. We finally he just wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
And
just
so
uncomfortable.
Hour and 40 minutes to get back to town. That I have to drive him off of the mountain to take him to meet his dad, who then tells me he's never even stayed with a relative before.
Oh,
well, no wonder.
Like he's never stayed anywhere.
No.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't yell at the guy, but I'm like, you're a freaking moron.
Yeah.
Why would you think of anything? Send your kid into a tent by himself. He's not with a friend.
Poor kid, dude.
Yeah, I felt bad for the kid because
it's not his fault.
No,
hey,
he had
I
no
love
idea.
my kids, but you gotta have those moments,
Well, you do,
yeah,
but
shit
I
them off
mean,
every once in a while.
man, I wouldn't be like, all right, kids,
Well, not on a
go
mountain.
to
I'm saying
Montana.
like you gotta take them to send them to grandparents or do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not the
The
place to
kid's
start.
probably freaking that
Yeah,
shit.
poor kid.
out, dude.
Where
I
the
feel
hell
for
am
that.
I?
See, now having kids, I feel for that kid.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Nah,
little buddy, it's all right.
Well, too, dude,
That's
in
probably
the
how you
mountains.
felt, too.
That kid's probably telling the same. He's in a podcast right now going, my fucking dad sent me to this camp.
My dad's a lunatic.
Probably,
What the hell?
but you know what? If he's not, we talked about this, maybe it wasn't on a podcast. All right, do you remember things from your childhood that happened that you're like embarrassed by, or that you're like, oh, I'm so stupid, but it's like so only it's so insignificant. You know what I'm talking?
yeah.
Does that
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
But in your 30s, you're still thinking about it.
Yeah.
But
Do you have anything like that? You know what I mean?
Like no one else will remember it ever. But
Yeah, no
to
one else
see
even
yourself,
thought it was a
"Oh,
thing.
that's so stupid."
And it might have just been a normal kid thing that you did
Yeah.
that you were embarrassed by. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
I can think right now. We were camping in Montana, obviously, right? And we had a camper, and East and I were playing in a creek. I can't remember exactly what we were doing. And so we're playing in this
He knows
creek.
instantly.
Oh yeah.
And this huge ass
remembers.
rock lands in the creek. Like, huge rock, dude. And from what we understood, Dad was at the camper or something. I don't remember what East and I were doing. We were screwing around in the creek, out in the woods as kids.
Yeah.
And this huge rock lands there. And then another one. Okay, and so now East and I are convinced this is a Sasquatch.
For sure.
And it is after us.
Yeah, what else
So
would it
we
be?
take off running, and my parents, and so we take off running back to the camper. The camper door is flipping locked. So now East and I are freaking out, and we get under the camper, and I'd had a pocket knife with a blade, like that big, you know, that they'd given me.
I got us, bro.
And so you're damn straight. I had that blade out, and I was like, I'm going to stab this Sasquatch, you know. And then can't even remember what happened after that.
No, it was just one of those things that I caught. I had told them not to go so far. They went too far.
Yeah.
So I probably went a little too far. Was trying to teach them a lesson that you shouldn't be.
You were pushing the rocks.
Oh yeah, I was throwing the rocks in the water, you know. So I come back and the two kids are hiding underneath the camper. You know, I'm like, "What are you going to do with that, Warren? I'm going to kill him." You know.
That's funny.
That is
But that's
funny.
actually a cool story.
That's not really embarrassing.
Yeah, I
Hold
feel
on,
like, mine.
I can tell you one though, and being that I'm oldest one here, you'll still remember them at 60. I'm not
Yeah,
60
no.
yet.
That's a
but
bummer. I hope I'd forget somewhere
That's
between now and
weird.
60.
I'm at my house. I'm probably, I don't know, I don't think I was a teenager yet. I can't have been a teenager yet. It's probably 8 or 9. And I toasted something and it didn't pop up. It was like a Pop-Tart or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I grabbed a knife and I stick it in that toaster to get whatever it was out there. And I thought someone punched me on my shoulder. I drop the knife and I turn around and I'm looking like I have an older brother that's 8 years older. Like I walk through our apartment looking for why he just freaking punched me, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, shit. I don't know. I guess he's hiding or whatever. I go back and freaking did it again. Stuck that knife in the toaster. This time I realized, oh shit, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm getting shocked.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so-
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
At least no one saw that one.
No,
But it's
but
something
I
you
knew.
remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew then. I was like, you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
You know?
That's hilarious. See, I have so many I couldn't pinpoint one that I have at least like 5 that I like rinse my face off in the shower at 33 and just, how old am I? Yeah, I'll be 34. And I still like shit I did in school.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever.
Oh, just dumb
like,
shit.
Like, and I'm talking like
I did a
second,
lot of
third
dumb
grade
shit.
shit, you know? Like stuff that doesn't even matter. It's just like, all right, here's a good example. Remember the kid at the airport?
I was just about to say that.
We were at, what airport we were at?
Kid for sure remember that for a while.
We were in Salt Lake. I saw this happen. I'm like, oh, this kid's going to remember this for the rest of his life. And I feel bad.
It's a life-ruining moment right now.
All right, you know what? It's not. It's like the, what are they called? Where you walk on they help speed you along.
Like an escalator. But you're talking about the
the
flat
sidewalk
one.
track,
Yeah,
yeah.
the sidewalk
the flat
ones, yeah.
escalators. Okay, you know how the handrail goes with it?
Yep.
And it moves?
Yeah.
This poor kid, man. He had to have been like, man,
13 maybe.
13, yeah,
maybe,
13, 14.
maybe. I'd say 11 to 13, young. And he's like on his phone and he's got a backpack on. He leans, he's like walking backwards. I could tell he's going to lean onto the handrail. And I'm like, uh-oh. And I should, we're in an airport waiting to board the plane. And I
And
go,
we're just sitting there watching, like, we all see him.
this kid sits, he's got sweatpants on. So the thing grabs his sweatpants and just balls it all up, like, and picks him up. And he's riding this rail. And as he's getting pulled up on the rail, I go, look at this. And the kid looks up and sees me go, look at this. And saw me see him doing it. And he's like looking at me, eye contact, riding this handrail, and he flops off this thing, and I'm just like, I felt bad for seeing it.
Right.
You know, and I thought about going up to him and be like, dude, you don't need to be, I thought about like, I could save this kid 30 years of grief,
Oh, that's
but I'm
funny.
not gonna.
Right? He needs it.
And I felt so bad for him. Just him look at me right in my eyes like, oh no.
He could not
sees
hit the
this.
ground louder. Like for everyone just to turn. It's just like,
Yeah, there was like 60, 70 people probably saw him do it.
there's so many people.
I just was like, man, he's going to remember that forever.
Oh, that's funny.
I've never had anything like that embarrassing.
No,
I just
not
felt
that.
so bad
But that
for
many
him,
people
man.
saw it.
Probably the closest one. I don't know if it was embarrassing because I was in so much pain. But when I was, I can't remember. I was maybe like 9th grade or something.
I don't
No,
know which one you're talking about yet.
no, it had to be before then. With Jacob, my buddy. You know, so that I was telling you guys, the Missouri River goes through Great Falls.
Mm-hmm.
So my best friend and I went to a baseball game. Well, the baseball stadium was like we had a semi-pro team, and it's right along the Missouri River. And then I can't remember if it was every year or if it was every 2 years that the caddisflies would hatch. It was every year, I
I think
think.
it was every year.
Yeah, because like they're like fly like that big that your
shad
fly
fly.
fishermen would use and
Yep.
stuff. Yeah, and so when they would hatch on the Missouri, I mean, you'd have millions and millions
Oh,
of them,
yeah.
right? And so, we went to this baseball game, and then the lights from the baseball game, when it got dark, there was just millions of these flipping caddisflies. Well, we're walking out of the game, and we're like in the parking lot, and I just hear like just foop, foop, and one of those freaking caddisflies gets into my ear and stuck in my head. Okay, and so it is beating on my eardrum, and I am just like screaming bloody murder, like freaking out.
No one knows what's going on.
No, my buddy thought I was screwing with him. You know, he's like, stop, dude. You're really being embarrassing, because all these people in the parking lot, you know, he's like, dude, really quit. Like, what the hell? And he's like, holy shit, like, you're not faking this. It's like, no, you know, and I'm like freaking out because it hurt to this day, by bar none, most pain I've ever been in my entire life.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
dude, it hurt so bad. I fell off of a 4-wheeler one time. I had to get 13 stitches in my left ass cheek. Nothing compared to this. I would take that 10 times over.
Damn.
So I'm like on the pavement, like freaking out, you know. And his mom was a nurse, and I don't even know if we had phones at that time. I don't think we did. But she was coming to pick us up anyways, you know. So then she sees me flailing around in the parking lot.
Like, what the hell?
And I remember still to this day, it was a McDonald's cup that she had that was full of tea, and she just grabs my head. Like, I don't even think she asked us what was going on. She just like knew.
Yeah.
Grabs my head and pours the tea in it. Yeah, and drowns the bug. And so then it stops. Couldn't get it out. So
holy shit.
We go to their house. I'm staying at their house for the night. She takes a big syringe and keeps trying to wash it out. Right. And so then finally she's like, Warren, I can't get this out. Like, we're going to have to take you to the ER tomorrow to try to get this bug out. And I was like, okay, I guess. Well, I can't argue with her, you know, like, what am I? So, which I remember it being weird, you know, sleeping with a freaking bug stuck in my head. And so then we go to the ER next day, and she, same thing, like doing everything she can to get this bug out until she was finally like, she's like, all right, Warren, we're going to give this one more try. And if I can't get this, then we're going to have to ask the doc, because they were terrified to try to put like tweezers in my ear, and because it was on my eardrum. Yes. And so they were trying to wash it out. And then, so on the last attempt, she finally got it and managed to wash this thing out of my ear. And I mean, it's like an inch long. And then my buddy was like, holy shit, I thought you were screwing around this whole time. Like, you're a moron, dude. It's been 24 hours. Like,
that sounds like a nightmare.
How'd it feel when it came out? Just like glorious.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. But at the same time, it was
so
like
sketchy.
The initial pain of it was incredible. Yeah, dude.
Bugs suck.
Dude, to this
Bugs
day,
suck.
like a mosquito near my ear, I'm freaking
I don't blame you.
I bet.
all over the place. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, that'd be like one of them stories, you know? It's like you had every right to freak out, but you still remember it. I mean, that's pretty traumatic. But
And nobody helped you in the parking lot?
They had no idea what was going on, because I was
how
like,
would you?
I
Like,
mean,
leave this kid alone. He's crazy.
I remember some of their faces.
Yeah, you're right. I'd be like,
You're like, holy shit.
someone like that checks out.
Hurry, get your finger in his butt. Isn't that your dog?
I'll get the bug out.
Stupid. Oh, I love it. Oh, this was fun, guys.
It was fun.
I appreciate you guys coming in.
No,
hopefully,
it's been
Thanks
good.
for having us.
we didn't scare you guys off for a round 2 in the future.
Oh, hell no.
Hopefully, it doesn't take 4 years.
Yeah.
We'll have to get Easton here on the next one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
He's got his own. He comes at it a bit different. You know, they're 4 years apart, but I mean, there's definitely a difference in who they are.
Oh, for sure.
I don't have 2 kids that are like 2 clones of each other.
I'm the stoic one.
Well, then we'll talk more, you know, deer stories and strategy. We'll get into more hot debates. But now that we know all about your childhood and in your background, I mean, that was fun, man. I don't know if you guys have ever been, how many other podcasts you do, but if that gets into it like that.
Quite a few, but I never. That's what I really appreciate about this podcast is I feel like a lot of the other ones we've done, no offense to any of those guys, I'm sure they probably listen to you guys, but a lot of them just the same questions, you know, same stuff over and over. And I think that's what I love about your guys' stuff is it's more relevant to the individual and it's interesting, you know, so it's fun.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that today, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. And then I'm like, man, dude, like you had a pretty freaking spoiled
Thank you.
childhood for a kid that loved hunting to get to grow up in Montana because dad went out of his way to make sure I went to Nebraska every year and Wyoming and got to hunt antelope as a kid and then got to come home and to Montana and hunt there. Like not many kids that were getting to do that, you know,
for sure.
So it was some pretty cool, some pretty badass places.
It's pretty cool.
Other than the grizzly place, I hated that place.
Well, yeah, it's fair.
I don't think anyone.
Well, thanks
likes
for
that.
the compliment. And
Yeah.
it was pumped to have you join along too. I was hoping you were going to be able to make it. I know
No,
we chatted, and I was like, I hope he can come. But
No, I would reiterate what Warren said. I mean, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I have listened to you guys a little bit, and you guys are just doing it right.
Thank you.
And I think that goes a long way. I mean, I've been around this hunting industry for quite a while, and as you guys probably have already realized, number one, it's small.
It's very small. Yeah.
You know, and number two, finding the people that you can tell are going to be around for a while because they're doing it from the heart. They're doing it, whether you agree with them or not. You know, I mean, because there's some out there that I don't agree with where they stand, but I stand behind the fact that they're doing something good for hunting.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And I happen to agree with a lot what you guys do, but you guys are doing it right. And so my hat's off. Working class bow hunters.
And right back at you guys. You guys are doing it
Yeah.
right. I love everything about it.
Yeah, you guys are killing it. My kids will do the camp when they're of age.
100%.
Too,
Yeah,
sure.
dude, bring them.
Oh, I can't wait to sign up.
Yeah, I'm,
You're too old, Doug. Keep Doug away from the kids.
Well, no. That backfired so quick.
You're not paying this.
Hopefully the kids don't get in a fight. If you know what
I
I'm
can't wait
saying.
to sign up.
Just so you know, we do background checks.
Yeah.
I'm calling Donise, our COO, and say if you get an instructor application from this guy, it's no.
Oh, she knows Doug.
Here's his headshot. Yeah, she knows Doug.
It's like all bench warmers. I'm 12.
Oh, man.
He's going to try to do this dog thing, and you don't want to allow it.
If the kids get in a fight, do not let Doug around.
Oh, shit.
You didn't help yourself at all.
Yeah, that really hurt me.
That really backfired on your ass, didn't it?
That was one of those embarrassing moments. It just happened.
You're never going to forget this, are you?
Oh, that's too good.
What? It works on dogs.
Oh, dude. I'm hot from laughing.
Oh, dude.
So funny.
It works
I did
on
not
I
Doug.
think that
go.
means it's time to go.
Yeah.
Would you like to end it with a go shoot your bow, Doug? You deserve to end this episode.
Go shoot your bow. We love you.
Thanks, guys.